Video games. Video games. Okay. I did that part of the day. Cool. Alright. Hopefully not too many interruptions. Take a lot more like pills and shit. I'm on steroids now. I won't get into reasons why, but mostly my eyesight. It's a fucking back and forth battle with bullshit. Should have done with, you know, a month ago. Where? I got some gum. I'm chewing that for a bit. Yeah, we're gonna play some more Chaos Head. Well, let's just pin this to... It wouldn't be start. Is it pinned to start? No. I'm not sure. Literally just checked and you weren't live thanks to the notice. You're welcome. I'm like 5 minutes off. I wanted to be on time for once. Alright. I'm trying to pin this folder for the game so I don't have to keep... I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway. Video games. I'm chewing gum, by the way. I promise I'm going to try to not be annoying with it. I should also set a reminder that my laundry in, you know, going at it. It's not going to be for another 90 minutes. But anyway, should be relatively no distractions. I forget exactly what spot we left off on, but something we had a lot of revelations. Every time I stop playing with, there's a lot of like, this is revealed, this is revealed, this is revealed, this is revealed, and then it's like nothing. I don't know. Pacing, man, pacing. I certainly couldn't have Remy come to my base over the weekend, so I spent a worrisome 2 days alone. Oh god, my bitrate killed itself. Dude, opening this game, for some reason, kills my stream. I don't know why. I mean, streaming whenever, you know, there's 4 other family members in the same house. Probably doesn't help, but usually it's pretty stable. Anyway, Remy had bought me a fresh supply of food in advance of Friday, so I'd stayed shut up in my base. Well, not shut in, whatever. Without taking a single step outside, but even then, there were countless times my anxiety almost drove me to email Remy saying, please come over. In the end, I never pressed send, but I was only freed from my nervousness during the 30 minutes when I was watching Barachu's latest episode. Even under these circumstances, I made sure to keep up with Barachu. Of course, I get messages as soon as I fucking... Because if Remy had become that which held up me in the 3rd dimension, my source of support in the 2nd dimension was Barachu, or rather, Sierra Tan, of course. Oh, it was a message from, like... Alright, anyway. Whatever. Alright. On Monday, when somehow I made it through the weekend, when I browsed through Phantasm Com at Virapara, it was remarkably full of flaming, and I quickly followed a link to @channel. There's an epic thread in the... Epic thread! @channel message board, be sure to read Guro Game... Okay. FPS and Phantasm used to be in hospital... What? Used to be hospitalized? In the past, she was a patient in a psychiatric ward. The hospital was called AHM. Phantasm is over. I got confused for a sec. I thought it was a weird translation issue when it said used to be hospitalized. Nobody says that. Whose eyes are those eyes? That's that's quite the emoticons. Another anti-fan. This is pretty sucky trolling. If you're gonna start a thread, at least link to a source. Of course it's a lie that FES was hospitalized. Slander! Strike the stake, strike the stake. Alright. FES was hospitalized for a long time for psychological reasons. Because the hospital put out a free publication with the patient's drawings and essays and poems. And her poetry got introduced there. By the way, the same thing's up on the hospital website. Her real name was Kishimoto Arkhart Medical Group. Here we go! Says, as far as your love for her goes, whatever, I have fewer rivals now, which is why FES is gonna be my bride. Everyone's like... even the anonymous people are like, voice of a nameless reader. Like, it's not even alright. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Fuel on the fire, there's a picture put. Alright. Is Phantasm gonna disband over this? I liked FES a lot, though, in a sexual sense. Wait. This game. The poem there doesn't get used in her songs, does it? The one watching you is me, Kishimoto Yasi. Don't quit FES. I'm seriously gonna cry. Wait, FES is browsing the board, I guess? I can kind of understand it. They say there is a fine line between genius and madness. Disbandment flag, here it comes. Okay. Young FES tan, but it means Phantasm is dead for sure. Part of me thinks it fits them to end like this before going mainstream. You know, if they're underground, you know, I can see that. Still no comment on FES's official site. Okay. Nice try. Okay. Where's this going? FES is psychologically ill? But that's a good thing. Calm down, you guys. Huge hoax. FES must have been broken down because of the malice filled the world. Okay. Again, just back and forth. Site's down, they're running away. So the Phantasm site's down? Oh, strange. The Arkhart Medical Group was a long-time psychiatric facility that accepted only patients with severe mental illnesses. From what the site showed in the hospital's appearance, all the windows had bars on them, making it look almost like an aging prison. I didn't know if it were still in existence. If any case, the homepage hadn't been updated whatsoever for the past 4 years. Except just as the people from @Chan said, the site used to picture of the young Kishimoto Ayase had a poem she had written there. It wasn't that it particularly shocked me. When I was in elementary school, I myself had regularly gone to a hospital psychiatric ward. That was why, on the contrary, I sympathized with her. Ayase was the same as me. She was the same as me, even with her incredible aura and her charismatic way of drawing Shibuya's youth to her. This common point between two of us lent a certain veracity to I don't know why I was going with hypno. I don't know. Hypothesis that she and I might possess the same power, the ability to project illusions into reality. Oh shit, here we go again. Shot and killed in Southeast Asia? Wow, I can't believe it. I'm dead. No, I mean, we're just talking Ayase, the blue-haired, not the long blue hair, but the, you know, the punk lady. She was apparently, yeah, Lolly Ayase. Okay. She was apparently used to be admitted to in a psychiatric ward. I said Asia? I read Africa. I don't remember saying Asia, though. Whatever. Up until now, I'd taken everything Ayase told me to face value, but that might have been a mistake over my part. Listen, man, I've been taking eye drops every, 5 hours. My eyes are so messed up right now. I would be saved if I obtained one. I began to have doubts not about the phenomena she had shown me, but rather the words she had spoken. Should I believe her? Phone call. Alright. This is what I hated about them. clicking my tongue, I picked up the phone as it went from ringing even more annoyingly. The caller had to be Nanami. She was definitely going to shower me with useless and belated complaints again. What a pain. Again, my internet's all over the place. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I don't think I'm downloading anything. What was what I thought as I pressed the button to put me through and laid the phone against my ear, all without checking the caller's number. Why hadn't I? Just this one time, I hadn't checked the caller's number. Back here. With the weird tune over the phone. This number, as I thought, no why, wasn't supposed to be out of use. When I had Nanami call it to make sure, I had an announcement played at us. Or else that had the prankster brought... Again, it's not a prank call. Panicking, I turned around towards the center of the room. Surely Remy would be there and she'd give me some kind of advice. She wasn't. Of course not. Remy was taking classes at school right now. Because I'd told her ahead of time I wouldn't be going to school today, but she hadn't come to pick me up in the morning. As I stood there, shaken up, Let Me Pass continued playing through the cell phone. A full minute had already gone by. I'll name you rascal. I'd only caught a little bit of it before, but I've heard some noise aside from Let Me Pass. Even if you limit it to only the sounds I could recognize, there was car engines and people footsteps, so it must have been outdoors. Again, I don't know what's going on with my bitrate. It is all over the place. I mean, if stream doesn't look fine, let me know. It seems to be okay. No one's complaining. So, what I've seen this, like my bitrate's going from 5,000 down to 1, down to 5, or up to 5 again. It's just back and forth over and over. Whatever. I can only think of one who might have set this kind of hoax. Shogun. Troubled, I look at the Sierra 10 standing next to my PC. What happened to the new one that you got? Is that the new one? I don't know, whatever. Sierra 10 faced me with the exact same smile as always. Of course, I should have done that from the start. I laid my thumb against the phone's end call button, but for some reason, before I cut it off, I thought I'd listen to Let Me Pass one more time, just a little bit longer. It felt strange even to me. It creeped me out, so I should have wanted to end it as soon as possible. I mostly unconsciously took the cell phone to my grip and lifted it to my ear. Right, Dumbo. Uh-oh. It came surging out of the phone. Ghastly pain. The violence of a noise like ultrasonic waves. That sound infected my body. An impact like lightning struck my head. My whole body went petrified. I screamed my lungs out, but I couldn't hear my own voice. Got a phone call from that prankster. You know what, this stupid pranking. Yeah. My brain. My heart. They boiled, they bubbled, they melted into gloops. Pain chewed through my body from the inside, crawling around me. My consciousness went liquid and of course through me until, in the end, it arrived at my heart and exploded and shattered into mist. These incoherent sensations controlled me, leaving me unable to think about what was happening. We're just gonna leave it? What? We're just gonna leave it there? Whatever. Yuba slowly opened her eyes. She saw that her class, Year 3, Class B, was in an uproar. Countless students had collapsed, their eyes rolled back and they foamed at their mouth and their bodies twitched all over. A number of others had curled into balls, pressing down on their heads as if they were suffering. The remaining students had stood up, though they were supposed to be in the middle of the class, and they were filing out in the hallway. The teacher took no notice of them as he frantically attempted to help the fallen students. Everyone who had come out into the hallway was raising surprised voices, but none of their words entered Yua's head. Yeah, I don't know where this is going. A cell phone in her skirt pocket had been vibrating for some time now. Upon noticing it at last, she dragged her hand toward her pocket. She tried to stand up, but staggering and slid down past her chair. How? Crouching, she leaned back up against the wall. After correcting the position of her slipping glasses, she pressed a button to take the call and put her phone to her ear.
Hi.
The cold sky is helping me through though. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's a beer. Yua made a grimace and pressed at her forehead as she answered. Both the commotion of her classmates in the hallway and her teacher's voice as she called, "Hey, hold on," to his prostrate students, sounding to hear like something taking place very far away.
Hi? あなたは、はい。はい。
Listen, I don't know Swedish. I can't comment. Blanching, Yua gulped. She covered the phone with her hands and dropped her voice. Her tone was clearly unsettled.
そんなわけないんです。だって、本当は。
Having said that much, Yua fumbled with her words and hung her head.
本当は、私。
What? The racket from the corridor grew louder still. Everyone was looking in the same direction and pointing and wearing anxious expressions. The hallway windows rattled as if a strong wind were blowing against them. Now you got me curious. Hold on. A bowl of... Why does everything on my phone blow up as soon as I start streaming anything? Like, my phone blows up. Anyway. That looks like a bowl of, like, milk and strawberries and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I would be down to try it, but I've never heard of it. Yeah, see, right, my little sister. Yes, I understand. Okay, that's fine. It skipped. Anyway. Feebly bowing her head at the end as though the person she was speaking to her right in front of her, Yua cut the connection. As she raised her hand, casting a glance at the windows beyond which everyone was pointing. It's almost as if someone had dropped white paint into water. The sky that had been a dirty blue was fading to white. That white spread at considerable speed, blurring it faded its way into the sky. Where is this going? Noah. New chapter, baby. What is going on at this point? Under ordinary circumstances, being released from a long investigatory headquarters meeting would have left Bon Yasuji feeling refreshed. Yeah, that's something they reference on Project Noah or something like that, yeah. But that certainly wouldn't be... My god. But that certainly couldn't be said of today when he had left the other detectives and went up to the windowsill to irritatedly place a call to his junior. His partner Suwa hadn't shown up at today's investigation meeting. Bond's personal feeling about it was, sure, even I want to skip, but what are you thinking of pinning your senior like this? At first glance, Suwa seemed like a frivolous sort of man, but in reality he was a serious detective with some real backbone. Considering how Bond valued him, his ditching the meeting today came unexpectedly. I'd be worried about him, though. Bond had tried to contact him countless times, but he always ended up getting his voicemail. What with having heard something rather disturbing from Momose 2 days ago, Bond was having a hard time settling down. Oh, don't say that. Today was full of annoyance after annoyance. Aside from the thing about Suwa, there's also the fact that when he reported about the GE rate in the meeting earlier, Matsunaga shot him down with, "We don't have the time to deal with the idle gossip. Please don't let things get any more aggravating than this." Bond let a small sigh as he waved his fan at his face, which is when his call went through and he heard his junior's voice. The connection was terribly low quality. Bond scratched his short hair, wondering where the Bunok Suwa had gone off to. Yes.
今どこだ
When Bon yelled, Sua's voice grew inaudible, and for some time, rustling noises continued in exchange.
どうすか聞こえてます？
ああ、それで、お前一体どこに
いや、自分なりに思うところがあってですね。
お前な。
He couldn't praise Sua for taking unauthorized independent action. Since Bon himself was constantly taking unauthorized independent action, however, he couldn't help smiling dryly at the thought that maybe all their time together had led to him having a bad influence on Sua.
手がかりがつかめそうなんですよ。ニュージェネの真犯人に関する決定的な証拠っす。
真犯人
The color of Bon's eyes shifted.
今はまだ内緒っす。自分の考えが間違ってるかもしれない。
とにかく、一度戻っ。
いや、自分もう少し調べてみるっすから。
あおい、ちょっと待て。
大丈夫っす。任せて。
Oh my god.
あ、座あ
No, I'll be alright. I'm gonna keep investigating. Right then, the area at his feet began shaking. An earthquake. The shaking gradually grew fiercer and fiercer to the point that he couldn't stand up straight. Earthquake! Bon crouched in place without a moment's hesitation. The other detectives who had at first been unfazed finally picked up on the gravity of the situation and ducked down and wormed their ways under tables. Bitchy! The clock hanging on the wall, the pens and papers, cups set on the table, the projection equipment, they dropped to the floor one after another, setting up violent crashing noises. The two whiteboards lined up at the head of the conference room also collapsed. It was almost like being in a plane had just entered the turbulence. So it seemed to Bon. It felt as if his feet weren't meeting the ground. His entire body rocked, sending him swinging around from side to side. This could conceivably be a 5 or 6 magnitude earthquake. Had the Great Kanto earthquake arrived at last, now of all times. That was when something slammed into Bon's head. He cried out at once. It wasn't that someone had physically struck him, it was an intense headache. Suddenly, screams resounded through the conference room. Gritting his teeth, Bon raised his head to see one of the jurisdictional detectives holding his head in his arms and writhing. And then he flopped over powerlessly like a puppet. Most of the other detectives' faces were contorted with pain, and they were pressing down on their temples or cradling their heads. What was this headache that matched nothing he had ever experienced before? But had no way of knowing whether or not it was connected to the earthquake. The shaking finally started to dissipate. Bon looked through the window with foggy eyes. It overflowed with milky white light. The brilliance of it prevented him from keeping his eyes open. So it was too bright for him to keep? Okay. No, that's not fog. The sky literally went white. Assaulted by head-splitting pain, I opened my eyes. Oh my! There goes the figures. I realized I lay collapsed face down in the middle of my room. His shipping crate is in shambles. I tried to get up, but as I did, pain raced through me as if my headache had infected the rest of my body, and I immediately moaned and borderline fainted in agony. His base, his base. After about 5 minutes worth of writhing around when the pain had started to subside minutely, I grabbed one of the legs of my bed and pulled myself up. I used a hand to wipe the greasy sweat off my forehead. The room was in a disastrous state, as if a storm had passed through it. All my bridges who had been lined up on the shelf were now toppled over. All my brides, I don't know why I said bridges, toppled over and had fallen on the floor. The bed was tilted in the manga volumes and Aerogay packages piled up on top of it had tumbled down, scattering across the floor. Again, I keep seeing my bitrate dip down and all this other stuff. Just let me know if something goes up. Like, if it actually affects the stream. I don't know what's going on. If I remember correctly, someone had called me, Let Me Pass had played through my phone, and as before it had transformed into something like an ambulance siren by the end. I'd heard the ground roar at the same time the buzzer sounded, and immediately after I'd been consumed by a sensation that my entire body was boiling and melting. I had absolutely no memory of what came next. My mind went blank. It couldn't be. Electromagnetic attack by Shogun. Maybe Shogun was capable of carrying out the same sorts of things as the system described in the patent I found earlier. Such thoughts made me shudder. And during my headache, I looked around the ceiling. I didn't see anything there, of course. If he were recording my thoughts, it'd be from a satellite distant, upper atmosphere orbit.
いくらなんでもそんなはずないよ。
But judging by Santa's tone that she told me all those things, it almost sounded like the system in that patent had already been put in its actual use and had been abused by certain people. If one of those certain people was Shogun, that's impossible. Whatever the case, it was way too much of a logical leap. God. An old man who looked like he might keel over any minute now could have private access to an orbital satellite. Or did he mean that one of the key people in some kind of governmental project? Scaring myself. I always think scarring. I don't know. It's stupid. Myself with my own delusions wouldn't change anything. It's the fact that something had occurred, and so I figured I would look it up online. How is your computer still intact? I was positive I've left it on, which means it wouldn't make sense if Sierra Tan's screensaver weren't being displayed in the monitor, but the screen is pitch black. It's getting there. I figured something would go around, you know? I'd set it up to automatically enter standby mode on its own, so it wouldn't have ended up like this, but my unconsciousness was closed, my body remained limp. It was a struggle just to stand. Clenching my teeth to put it up with it, I moved the mouse. No reaction. Next, I tried pressing the power button. The hard disk started making a crunching sound. It's not good. It's not a good noise. I applaud myself taking my chair as I waited for the PC to start up. I reached urgently for my cell phone, which I'd still sat where I'd left it on the table. Should have gone with an SSD, man. No moving parts. I checked the time.
13時
Before I'd received that phone call while I was browsing through info about Ayase and Atchan, what time it had been again. When I put my head to work, the stabbing pain grew harsher. What time it had been? It was definitely, it should have been noon, shouldn't have been noon yet.
1時間以上も気絶してた。
Or else like a sleepwalker, I'd been drifting around somewhere for an hour.
僕は無遊病じゃない。
I shook my head to keep my thoughts from sinking in a negative direction again. The resulting pain made my field of sight waver dizzily, as if a lump of lead had been stuffed into the center of my brain. That's kind of descriptive. When I took a glance at the monitor. Alright, his hard drive's done.
マジで
Could this possibly be a hard disk error? Maybe that's what it says. Just maybe.
嘘だ。そんなのありえない。
Yeah, they can't use blue, so.
そんなことになったら全てが終わる。
My gigs of 18 plus Moe artwork. My Arrow Gaze save data. My bookmarks to the sites I made rounds on a daily basis. No, my bit of attention sheet chart. And more than anything, that which was more important to me than anything. My ESO save data. That'd be my first thought. Did this mean that anything and everything had vanished? Well, it's not save data. It's all on a fucking server somewhere else, you know. Like, it's a poorly designed MMO if it's saved on your computer. Alright, that's cool, but I don't know what that means. Could this possibly be his very direct translation of huh? That's really racist, I'm sorry. I just can't read it. I wanted to kick the wall, and even I wanted to make sure of whether or not a restoration was possible. But my body felt as heavy as always, and my headache wouldn't recede, and it was all that I could do to limp together in my chair and bite my lip. Yeah, I was about to say that was probably more Chinese anyway. Yeah, whatever. Dude, I can't do a fake Japanese. Whatever it is, my brain can't comprehend it. And people like make up fake Japanese names and stuff. I can't do that. I can't do that. I've listened and listened and listened to Japanese all day, but I just can't do that. The deletion of my ESO data meant I no longer had any reason to live. Say Baka and Bishi and you're good to go. Pretty much. Everything had stopped mattering to me. It all burned away. Just kill me.
待ってタッキー
Sierra's hand lying fallen over at my desk smiled like an angel and spoke to me gently.
冷静になりなよ円数みたいなオンラインのゲーム
Yeah, that's what I'm saying!
サーバーに保存さ
It'd be a really poorly made MMO if it's all saved on your computer. That's... Big brain. By servers, you mean the company's administrative
だか
servers.
らたとえタッキーの PC が壊れてもな
Oh, yeah. Thanks to my misty consciousness, I've forgotten something that basic. I felt I discovered a single ray of hope in the midst of despair. Just what I'd expect from my wife. I regretted the loss of my precious Moe illustration collection and MP3s, which I hadn't backed up, but I had no choice except to give up. Even so, I wanted to commence the work of reinstalling my OS as soon as I could. I also wanted to confirm the safety of my ESO save data with my own eyes as soon as possible. Although before anything else, I needed the headache currently torturing me to subside. But I very much doubted this pain would be the favor of disappearing anytime soon. He's gonna open the crate and the building's gonna be collapsed. I swear. Like, I would want to be in a shipping crate in the time of an earthquake. Because that thing's not gonna... that's gonna deal with a few hits, you know? It was typical for commercials and famous singer music videos to be playing on the Jumbotron located in Shibuya Station Plaza. Currently projected on it, however, was the solemn face of a female newscaster. It was a special TV broadcast. On the upper left-hand side were displayed sensational words. Earthquake in Shibuya, over 200 casualties. Earthquakes were an everyday occurrence in Japan, even the capital metropolitan area. Magnitude 5 earthquakes were known to have taken place myriad times. But as the mass media gathered information, it became clear that this earthquake in particular had produced a bizarrely number of casualties. I know, that's probably just an error on the fucking part of the game, whatever. It was strange. Its strangeness was especially apparent when one compared it to the magnitude 5 earthquake in 2005, which had resulted in zero casualties. And on top of all things, the earthquake had centered around Shibuya, the subject of close scrutiny over Japan, thanks to the new gen cases. I was just reminded, you guys remember that big tsunami or whatever, like that Japan got flooded or whatever, like 10 years ago? That was kind of crazy. Anyway, an earthquake had also happened in Shibuya about 3 months ago. 8 deaths had emerged at the time, despite the fact that it was only a magnitude 3 earthquake. Yeah, that was after this game came out. Perhaps Shibuya is cursed. The people who laid eyes on initial reports about the earthquake may not have given voice to this, but all of them surely thought of it. In any case, all the individual stations began broadcasting special programming almost as soon as the earthquake started. Information was currently complicated, and though the full count remained unclear, the female newscaster read off her notes, stating, according to an announcement by the Fire and Disaster Management Agency, 31 fatalities have been confirmed at the present, and it is believed that the number will continue to rise. Furthermore, the cause of the death is currently unknown. Additionally, news kept coming about the mysteries of white light that had attacked Shibuya, and the ensuing shock wave that had transformed of the sky from blue to white. Cameras affixed at regular points throughout Shibuya's pedestrian scramble had caught that light on tape, and the Jumbotron kept playing a film where the screen completely white as soon as the earthquake ended. The discoloration that had begun together with the earthquake had at first been more of a scaring light than simply white. Shibuya momentarily had been enveloped by a flash whose brightness stopped everyone from opening their eyes. If this were an earlier and more warlike era, people would doubtless have imagined it to be a nuclear weapon. There was those who actually spotted a white mushroom cloud floating several hundred meters above Shibuya, though it soon disappeared. Yet no one had any idea about the source of the light might have been or how it could have been related to the earthquake. Mysteriously, the white-dyed sky returned to its original color in less than an hour, and now the air of the people of Shibuya was covered in a somber blue as though nothing had happened. The asphalt of Dugan Hill bore extremely minuscule fissures. It's supposed to say fissures, right? Each of them hardly put more than a millimeter. Moreover, mixed-use buildings and other structures of the shopping center had also grown diminutive. Good lord! Crevices on the surface of their walls. My headache still wouldn't let it. He really fixed up his place with notes. My headache still wouldn't let me up. It had taken close to 2 hours to reinstall my OS. Iso's still up. Midway through, the pain had made me lose consciousness a number of times. I dozed off at the computer before, but this was the first time I'd actually passed out. Even so, the pain had mostly retreated compared to 2 hours earlier. I wet my throat by drinking some Coke and mustered my energy. Does this dude drink any water? Honestly? I returned my toppled bed to its original position and cleared some space on the floor to walk around. Doing these things took considerable effort due to how my body refused to work up any strength, but I wouldn't be able to leave the room if I didn't clean up. It'd be the worst if during Shogun's next attack, although I didn't know if it were really him or not, I found myself trapped in here and couldn't run away. I needed to guarantee myself an escape route. You know, it's one entrance and exits. I mean, whatever. In any case, once I'd finished rearranging things and reformatted my OS, I swiftly faced my PC, installed ESO, attempted to log into Baselord.
やった。やった。
Oh my god, Neidhart's still
消えて
here.
ない。
Woo!
とかも全部無事だ。よかった。
My excess of emotion almost drove me to leap from my chair and pump a fist in the air. But even that was exhausting, I stopped myself halfway. Even so, I was overjoyed to be able to meet my alter ego again, after thinking he had disappeared forever. Let's see. Now that I was relieved, I started wanting to find out what on earth happened in the first place. It was enough to give me the urge to sue someone for damages. It had seemed like an earthquake, but that alone left too many things unexplained. I checked to see if Grimm were in Baselord, but I couldn't find him. I tried going to our usual chat room. My bookmark for it had disappeared. So it took a while to find out, but Grimm wasn't there. What was with him vanishing on me such a crucial time? It's not like he's going to be constantly at his desk. I don't know. That's fucking whatever. I had no recourse but to open up the Taboo homepage. There was some news headline of over 200 casualties in Shibuya. Apparently an earthquake had occurred after all, magnitude 5. The number of casualties was awfully high. They said chances were strong that it would continue to mount even beyond 200. There were also reports that the sky over Shibuya had temporarily turned white and that a vast mushroom-clouded region, yeah. But no one seemed to be aware of how these were connected to the earthquake. They had pounced over an @ channel as well, with a lot of people posting threads like, Shibuya again, and Shibuya is over, isn't it? Videos have been uploaded, ones that showed film of the traffic cameras and the pedestrian scramble.
地震だけじゃないよね。
At the time, I'd been attacked by a horrible headache. It wasn't even at the level where you could call it a headache. It felt as though the inside of my skull were boiling. Shibuya over, party! And even now, 2 hours later, it felt like a pulsing pain and a limp heaviness behind my body.
閉じ込められたらあんな風になるかもしれない。
When I thought of it that way, I had the sense that maybe my paranoid delusions about it being an electromagnetic attack set on by Shogun weren't completely mistaken. Huh. Chat room. Let's see what's up with the chat room. Let's go on to that. Not too keen on magnitudes of earthquake, but if it was a 5. Then what would the one at the start be? I don't know, bro. An unthinkable shriek spilled from my throat when I saw the name. Such impeccable timing. Could it be that he really was peeping on my thoughts? The hand gripped my mouse quivered. So I was so terrified that I went rigid and even the pain in my head flew straight away. Even though I hated merely looking at the word Shogun, I couldn't rip my eyes away from the monitor. I wanted to leave the chat room, but I received such a shock that it was as though my body had been cut from my consciousness and I couldn't control the mouse. A prickling sensation at the back of my neck. Someone was watching me again. Rather than anyone resembling God, might have been, in fact, the gaze Shogun sent down from a satellite's orbit. They were trying to hit the magnitude cap. Yeah, you know, the engine in real life, you know, it only caps at 999, not 9999, so... But where to, he'd catch up no matter where I'd flood Japan. That's the first thing he said, with the lightness of someone greeting a friend that he hadn't come across for a while. But I had absolutely zero recollection of being friendly with him. I was left to chew at my lip and watch the words displayed on my monitor. But the post by Shogun galvanized me, letting my petrified body move freely again, and I soon groped for my cell phone. It was a little past 3. Classes might still be going on. Even so, surely Remy would do something about it for me. I had to believe this. I picked up Remy's cell phone number out of the short list of items recorded in my address book.
助けてリミリミ早く
Remy wouldn't pick up. Beyond the phone, the monotonous sound of a call to her went straight on ringing. Why now? Didn't you always come materialize in front of me whenever I found myself in trouble? Why now of all times? Long time no see, do you hate me? I'll send you a present. Does he feel like sending me another one of those? Yeah, really. Holy shit. Like, what are you gonna do? She's not... I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I'm not the criminal. I felt like I'd become a fish stranded on land. I wasn't getting enough oxygen. My head went fuzzy. Remy was my last hope. Gripping the phone harder and harder, I concentrated all my attention on the other end of the line as though praying. It went through.
留守番電話サービスに
Yeah, no shit. Oh. Of all times? Really? Now? Okay. I guess I'll save. Fuck, I don't know. Protagonists like this one couldn't be such a scaredy cat without character development. Yeah, I was about to say it. Negative sounds like the better deal here. At some point, my body had started trembling. I dreaded Shogun even more than I'd thought. Of course I did. He was a serial killer who caused 5 incredibly cruel incidents, all the while pretending to be disabled. And that was his next mark.
助けてよ
The sound of someone banging on the door came just then, as if they'd waited for the right timing.
リミ
I wouldn't be so sure that it's Remy.
リミ
Give me some kind of answer. Why don't you say anything?
答えてよ
Without offering a reply, they started hammering at my door again.
誰だ誰なんだ
Once I started harboring suspicions, I lost the courage to open the door and determined who stood beyond it. I retreated slowly until the last I hit the backrest of my chair. My god. The person outside wasn't alone.
誰だよ
As if in my reaction, my voice, the sound stopped at once. Bum-ba-da-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum. That's supposed to be fingernail scratching? That sounds like... It doesn't sound like fingernails, but whatever. Goosebumps stood all over me and revulsion heightened my nausea. I covered my eyes hard.
許してよ
I looked around the center of my room with a gasp. Still in that position, I listened stealthily. No sound. Had I imagined it? For 5 minutes, I went on paying close heed to the conditions outside the container house, too terrified to move a finger. In the end, I didn't sense anyone's presence, and I opened the door, crack a little outside just in case. The fact that the chat room... no one was there. Had it been an illusion? But even now, my heart seemed as though it were about to be crushed by anxiety. I sent my eyes back to the monitor. Shogun had already departed from the chat. Traces left behind consisted of only 4 lines. It's referenced as a room, and when Shogun left it, said that he had left the room. I kind of see what you're saying. I mean, yeah. See, that's usual, like, IRC chat stuff. Whatever. Not wanting to see those words, I hurriedly got myself out of the chat room now that Shogun had vanished. My trembling still wouldn't stop. Shogun was challenging me. What could possibly be so enjoyable about dogging me? Had Shogun finally resumed his activity, having selected me as his new victim? Or was I the most convenient person for him to pin his crimes on?
誰か助けてよ。
I gazed desperately at the post-awakening Sierra Tang.
一人は怖いんだ。
I didn't want to be alone. I wanted to have someone by my side. I wanted someone to protect me.
そうだ。学校へ行けば。
If I went to school, Remy would be there. I couldn't endure spending more anxious time here on my own. I took off the Threadberg trainers that I had worn as house slippers, hastily put on my uniform, and left the base. Waiting for Nanami to show up whenever he left. Going to the cold outdoor air made my headache somewhat milder. A more restless atmosphere than usual hung around the city. Perhaps it was due to the earthquake. Sirens rang out unceasingly far off in the distance. I couldn't tell whether they were from fire trucks or ambulances. Most likely both. I will have to here in a moment. Yamate Street, 1 block away from where I was walking now, had become incredibly congested. Numerous cars caused head-on collisions and then been left there in the middle of the road. Didn't see where their drivers were. Traffic was one fault for those abandoned cars, and other drivers all honked on as if they were going insane. I stumbled my way towards school. A lone dog cut out in front of me, howled as if it crossed my path. Oh, one sec. Yeah, that's a sound effect. Let me look at this, let's look at the clip real quick. I'm curious. Holy crap, there's something wrong. That was pretty funny. It said new gen. I clapped. Wait, is there more? No, there can't be more.
そうだな。
I'm kind of surprised though. It just slipped right past me. I mean, I also don't know the context. So, just as a heads up, apparently my dad just told me, he's gotta like turn off part of the electricity in the house. You know, like flicking power switches or whatever. So if my stream goes off, it's not my fault. If it goes off, I might like have to wait a few minutes to get back up, but I will probably be back up. But I'm gonna be saving a lot more. Now that I mention it myself. It should be okay. I'm hoping it. Yeah. It's not a matter of like. It's nothing wrong with like power or anything. He's replacing a switch for a light bulb or something. I don't know. Anyway, I saw it off the absentmindedly. I caught my toe in something and almost fell over. There was a fissure in the asphalt with one side slightly higher than the other. This must be due to the earthquake. I stopped there and looked at the sky. A few small clouds floated there, carefree in the midst of the dim blue. Immediately following the earthquake, it had apparently turned white as if they were one giant aura, but I couldn't spot traces of that anywhere. Yeah, my lights went off, but not my computer. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Immediately following the earthquake, it had apparently turned white as if it were one giant aura, but I couldn't spot traces of that anywhere. This wasn't the usual Shibuya. I simply couldn't calm down. It wasn't merely because of the earthquake's influence. It was merely because of my migraine. Not only that, a certain urge threatened to rack me. Though I was only walking around for some reason, I really felt like I might want to kill someone. Interesting touch. By the time I reached the school gates, my anxiety and terror had grown stronger and stronger. I had chills, I couldn't stop shaking, my headache resurged. When I looked more closely, there was more people packing around the seniors building. I tried to spot Rimi there. Mysteriously, every one of them was alike on how they looked up at the top of the school building.
Oh, Taku!
Asumi-kun came running down to me. Excellent. If I asked him where Rimi was.
お前、今日学校来てたんだな。いや、そんなん今はどうでもいいから。
He spoke with a terrible sobriety and his expression was pale. One rarely saw him so shaken. What on earth could have happened?
やばいよな。
What was bad?
病気だったんだろ。
精神病のことがバレて余計におかしくなっちゃったらしいぜ。
さっき飛べるとか言ってたぜ。やべえ
She's trying to commit suicide?
俺人が死ぬとこマジで見てんだけど。
Don't say that!
人黒すぎて最高だぜ。
No!
早く落ちてこねえかな。
Such conversations entered my ears from around us. Maybe I had an unpleasant premonition. Following the other students' gazes, I tentatively looked up at the school building. Oh my god. Stood a single girl. She held her dai sword the same as the one from her concert. Her pose was that of one lifting a prayer to God in the heavens. Is that a Masumi Grim flag about the Guru? Bro, I don't know. I don't think it was supposed to be specifically Masumi that said that, but it was also Masumi's voice actor. So I don't know. Ayase stood there. Okay, we're not done with the scene yet. I'm like, why is it just leaving it now?
写真の影に潜む目には映らない存在。
Ayase felt the wind. A chilly wind had begun to carry it with a faint hint of winter. As she entrusted her body to the wind, her expression was very anguished, and drops of sweat rolled down her cheeks.
離れようとも離れようとも冷めぬ悪夢は
The Suimei Academy roof was surrounded by a metal fence nearly 2 meters high. Ayase was currently standing in the barely 30-centimeter space that lay around it. She'd already been standing there for over 10 minutes. This game is dark. If she took another step forward, she would fall from the 4-story high school roof. Many students had gathered below. They'd watched Ayase from bated breath.
剣となりてこの身を切り裂くのだろう。
People had long since contacted the police and emergency medical services, but they hadn't arrived on the spot yet due to part of their needing in response to the earthquake of several hours earlier. The teachers darted around to prepare a landing mat if worse came to worse.
無関心という名の盾で戦火を免れる人々。
But Ayase herself stretched out, her back standing up straight as if the ruckus below had nothing to do with her. It appeared, in fact, that she were deliberately attempting to sever anything trying to interest her in the world below. Raising her chin to look up at the sky, she closed both eyes. She resembled a shrine maiden praying to heaven. Perhaps because she had a good sense of balance, her body didn't waver whatsoever in the small wind. Never mind the fact that she was carrying a colossal sword, one approximately as tall as she was, in her right hand.
神聖なる戦場の敵は心の内の悪意なるもの。
That sword, her dai sword, was radiating a pale light, blinking painfully on and off, as though synchronizing with its blinking, agonizing sighs fell from Ayase's lips, and a weak, thin whisper came leaking out with
悪意
them.
は時として意志の持ち、そして
And shows us its form. Okay. The poetry won by her whisper soon was erased in the wind. Ayase opened her eyes and ran her gaze across the subdued sky that lay over Shibuya's clustered
この
buildings.
世界は悪意の妄想に満ち溢れている。みんな他人の不幸が大好き。目を閉じて耳を塞いでも
Where's this
だ
going?
からずっと私のそばを離れてくれないわ。
As she murmured, she'd brought her enormous sword up to her chest. She embraced it gently with both arms. Mysteriously, that sharp-looking sword paled not a single wound on her body.
たかった。大いなる意志が住むもう一つの世界に
What's the Great Will? I don't...
心を切り刻んで全部受け入れたわ。混沌の器としての夢を。
Ayase's expression contorted in grief. Quiet tears spilled from her eyes. Those voicelessly wept tears danced into space, blown away by the wind.
けどグラジオールの帯同がもう時間がないのに見つからない。見つからないのよ。天国の扉も賢者も導き手も七つの神罰も黒騎士の伝説は本当なの。歌はもうたくさん歌ったわ。
Where's this going?
それで足りないって言うならね。大いなる
And what's this Great Will stuff? I'm so lost. Ayase slowly spread her arms out on either side, as though to embrace the sky itself, as though to indicate her existence to a distant and high-up god.
飛ぶわ。
The pale pulsing of her sword increased with ferocity. Ayase closed her eyes for a second time, and at that moment a final tear overflowed from her corners of her eyes.
お願い
Oh yeah, the will from Steins Gate, obviously.
差し出すから
It probably is. Right?
連れて行って
And she stepped forward without a moment's hesitation, and with nothing there was to hold up her body.
行きましょうよ。
Ayase sensed a chilly wind tenderly stroking her cheeks and felt that she had been freed from everything. There she goes. Helpless, all I could do was watch. When Ayase spread her arms out on both sides, she slowly stepped into thin air as though an invisible stairway was there. Screaming and a general roar overflowed from the spectators all at once. Ayase's body lost its support like a puppet whose strings had been cut, and she flew inverted through the air. Everything went into a slow motion. Ayase's body plummeted down. Her rate of descent was horribly slow, but she was definitely falling. She would die. I couldn't save her. It would be impossible to save her falling from that height. Moreover, below was concrete. Her bones would shatter, her innards would be crushed, her spinal fluid would come up bursting out, and then, okay. Quite a lot of detail. If only a flower bed or something were there. If only it were soft soil. Then maybe she would survive. I didn't want to see the moment of anyone's death. I was about to close my eyes at that instant. I felt it. A tingling at my nape of my neck. I turned around. No one was watching me. Everyone was either facing down or looking up. Whose eyes are those eyes? A sound resounded. Sound of falling. It was the first time I'd heard it. The sound was unexpectedly soft. Beside me, Masumi-kun widened his eyes, stunned. Though his line of sight ought to have been pointing towards the place where Ayase landed, his gaze was filled with a more powerful surprise than a horror of sorrow. Not only Masumi-kun, all of the spectators wearing expressions of incomprehension went speechless. Alive? Ayase lay fallen. I couldn't tell whether or not her bones had shattered. I couldn't tell whether or not her innards had turned pulp. Her spinal fluid hadn't come lashing out. Blackish blood hadn't flown everywhere. A frail but certain groan spilled from Ayase's mouth. She was alive. She appeared to have lost consciousness and didn't budge an inch, but she had almost no visible energies. No minor trace of blood on her forehead. Even though she had fallen from the roof, she lay collapsed there all but unhurt on a flower bed. I'd been there. A flower bed there.
予定と結果に大きな違いがあったようだが、
我々は進化への第一歩を踏み出したんですよ。
三桁もの死人が出るなど我々は聞いておらんぞ。計画に不備があったのかね。
いいえ、お二人にはぜひ人の進化の歴史というものを振り返ってみていただきたい。
進化には多少の犠牲はつきものという点については異論はない。死人のことなどどうでもいい。 重要なのは予定と違うということだ。
想定の範囲内ですよ、私の中では。
ならばなぜ事前に我々へ連絡せんのだ。情報をコントロールするにはそれなりの下準備が必要なのだぞ。貴様の推挙のために人や金を犠牲にしてきたわけではない。
ご安心を。先ほど申しました通り、いずれ近いうちに選挙での票集めに苦労することも、強引な勧誘活動を告発される恐れもなくなるでしょう。我々が日本を、いや、
口を慎め。300人委員
The Committee of 300.
我らに待っているのは君の役目は計画通りにこ
I'm just thinking of the
それ以上でも以下でもない。
that group from Evangelion. Whatever. Committee of 300 is translated, I think. Oh, the tip stuff. Let me see if I can find the tips. Even at this point, I've gone there once. Config screen, return title, backlog, beginning chapter, skip mode, auto. What? It's at the very bottom. Wow. Let's see here. Let's see here. A secret organization shrouded in mystery, rumored to pull the strings of the world from behind the scenes. The Illuminati, exactly what I expected. Composed of only 300 members, they are known as the Unseen Rulers. Their subordinates include royalty and intelligence agencies from numerous nations, with focus as well in banking enterprises. They were all puppets of the 300, even the other secret societies that would appear in conspiracy theories. It is said almost the entire world is bent on their will, whether it be companies, police, research institutions, etc. However, their true existence will remain a mere rumor to the end. The Committee of 300's ultimate goal is theorized as the construction of the so-called New World Order under the Human Domestication Project. Outside of the elite 1 billion would be left behind, all the others are slaughtered. Those billion would remain as slaves subject to the ruler's dominion. Okay. That is translated and it's kind of quirky.
調整は我々がやる。
承知しています。
それで
So is Nozomi actually the good people?
お二人
Basically fighting against CERN.
だける仕上がりですよ。ノア2。
Noah 2. I ran from school to the park with all my might, stopping only when my breath ceased coming. The real villain is Thanos. We're seeing him in 20 years. Wait a minute. I didn't catch a sign of personages. Personages, yes. I dreaded Shogun and Yua, relieved I began collecting my breath. It was close to the evening. The sky gradually transformed to blue to the color of twilight. The usual quietness of this park made the previous uproar at school seem like a lie. The incident had ended in a failed suicide attempt. An ambulance carried Ayase off. I had no knowing what happened to her afterward. After the stir, I gave up on searching for Rimi and ran away here. The spectacle from before had indeliberately seared into the back of my brain. I'm watching how it goes. As Ayase fell, I thought she could never be saved. But she'd lived. I didn't know the details, but at least she hadn't died. She was breathing. She had few, if any, outer wounds. Under normal circumstances, she would definitely have died. She was miraculously saved. Because she fell atop the soft earth of a flower bed. I mean, that's 4 stories, though. That would still hurt. I don't know. Like, I don't buy that. Whatever. It was physically impossible for Yasu to have fallen on a flower bed, because there had not been anything like a flower bed down there. Until the instant before Yase fell, the place had been paved asphalt of a parking lot. Several teachers' cars were parked there. Despite that, in a single second, a flower bed manifested. Had it done it? In the midst of being upset over it, I had envisioned maybe there was a flower bed beneath her. Just because of that, could a split-second illusion like that actually become reality? I'd wondered if I'd cut some kind of special power and I'd undergone the similar experiences of witnessing Ayase divide in two, but could I do something as amazing as creating a flower bed instantaneously, even though I didn't possess a dye sword? Furthermore, that flower bed had continued existing even after Ayase fell. When teachers ran up to her as she lay there, they left footprints amid the flowers. The flowers blooming there, I thought they had the same as those planted in the courtyard flower beds. Had their stems bent from their being trodden by the ambulance crew. They were probably still in the same place even now. The delusion had become reality and stayed that way. It hadn't ultimately disappeared like Ayase's doppelganger. Everyone had accepted the flower bed as if its presence were there perfectly normal. None of them had expressed any doubts about it. That's really strange. This flower bed's conveniently laid right there. Okay. A sharp voice called from me behind. Before I had a chance to turn around, a hand stretched out and seized the front of my shirt. Without my having chance to struggle, I got shoved violently into the playground equipment. My back slammed powerfully against it, and I moaned in pain. Oh god. Save time. You know, I'm just gonna do completely random. Completely random. I think it went positive. Alright, whatever. Sana was the one who had used violence against me out of the blue. She grabbed the front of my shirt and pulled me up with incredible force. I couldn't breathe. I waved my arms around in vain, but she showed no indication of letting me go. On top of that, her eyes were brimming with a sharp light that might be interpreted as a desire to kill. I went cold thinking she'd murder me and frantically shook my head. Oh no. Where's this going? Something soft pushed at my lips. Unable to comprehend what was happening and furthermore finding myself unable to breathe, I went dizzy. Oh god. It was far at sea, yet for some reason it felt right beforehand that something wriggled out of my mouth at last. Of course. Sana's lips glistened with saliva. Even though she'd previously glared at me with murderous eyes, she now gazed at me meltingly. What? Upon declaring those perplexing things in an angry tone, she brought her face close to mine again. Oh dear. Wearing an expression of ecstasy, she delivered what erogates that from type of lines to me. Oh dear. Hers was not the attack, it was someone making a request. This is okay. Visible disappointment? Really? Would you want me to pick negative? She would just like torture you with playground equipment. Like it's I snapped out of my reverie. Sana was gripping my shirt front, pushing me back against the playground equipment. Her face was very near mine, after all. When our eyes met, my face went hot. They had a smooch in it, that's about it. I don't remember asking her anything like that. Was it in reality I'd escaped via my delusion of reverse rape? Even it's just saying it out loud. Alright. Sana shook me violently regardless. What was the divine or whatever thing? I reflexively shook my head. Can't breathe, I'm suffocating. I feel faint, I'm gonna die. Just as I seemed about to lose consciousness, Sana let me go without warning. I collapsed in place. As I hacked away, I desperately sucked in air. When Seina my enemy as I thought originally, did she too work for Shogun? If so, I had to escape.
関係ないならいい。悪かった。
Seeing my bewildered face, Seina clicked her tongue lightly and let out another sigh. She began to leave. It would seem she didn't intend to hurt me then. I screwed my courage and called to her. I thought she'd ignore me, but Seina stopped and turned back to face me. Her expression was still severe, but apparently she meant to listen to me.
力って。何なの？
Seina knew something. She referred to the flower bed, saying, "You created it, didn't you?" Everyone on the spot aside from me had acknowledged the flower bed as something that had been there from the start. But Seina was different.
さっきの花壇。
お前が妄想したんだろ。
Imagine it.
妄想は現実にすることが可能。本当じゃないものが景色に紛れ込む。つまりエラーを現実として認識させる。
でも視界に映すだけじゃそれって幻でしかないよ。
Illusions were no more than illusions, and they were false. If that flower bed were an illusion, Oyase wouldn't have lived. Oyase would have had been saved because of the flower bed there wasn't an illusion, but rather the real thing.
世界の仕組みは3つの数字で全て説明できる。ディソードはそのマイナス1を生み出すためのショートカットになる。だがお前はディソードなしでそれをやった。
She'd start saying things that went straight over my head. What Seina told me wasn't merely a flight of fantasy. At least the patent for VR technology had turned out to be fact. Seina really did know something.
いいか、これ以上エラーを作るな。
Why?
それがお前のためだ。それと他にもエラーを見たら教えろ。
Ah, of course, all the signs led to this. Of course, yeah. No. I know where now is the truth is. Now doesn't exist because the moment called now became the past. No matter the scene, it's something similar to zero. Sure, Malberg. She one-sidedly threw at me words that could be taken as kind of a threat, and she turned
目に
back to
見え
me.
るものだけを信じられることがどんなに幸せか。
Seina spat out this parting matter, and this time she left for no good. Or for good, yeah. I know where now is the truth, is now doesn't exist because the moment called now because becomes the past no matter the scene. I mean, it makes sense, but it's disjointed. It seemed copy and pasted or something, I don't know. I know what you mean though, where the present's always become the past because it's constantly moving forward and stuff, yeah. The floor of the AH General Hospital where the psychiatric examining rooms can be found is stepped in size. I can't format that on Twitch correctly, their lyrics. Their lyrics to what? Whatever. It was said that the surgical department in the I almost said embarrassing room. Really? Alright, the emergency room had been in quite a state since the earthquake, as injured people who had lost consciousness due to seemingly baseless symptoms were carried one after the other. But the psychiatric ward had nothing to do with that, as if anything, the patients visiting for diagnosis finished earlier than usual. In a few days, perhaps potential PTSD patients would come pouring in, but for days, at least, the psychiatric department would run out of scheduled appointments. The nurse Hazuki Shino had realized that she had been working here since the previous day's night shift, with hardly a break. She was hungry as well. The psychiatric ward had lost one of its doctors the other day. He had been ruthlessly killed in a new-gen incident, and no substitute had arrived yet, so they were constantly understaffed. But all that remained for today's work were minor miscellaneous tasks, as if she had passed them on to the nurses responsible for the next night shift, and she could finally take some night off. Patting her cheeks with both hands as though telling herself to keep it up for just a little longer, she was about to swiftly cut through the empty lobby. She sensed a gaze coming from behind her, a prickling sensation at the back of her neck. Goose flesh rose on her arm with a shiver. She automatically turned around, but all that continued beyond there was a silent corridor. Nothing was there. Hazuki jerked at the voice that came flying from the completely different direction. One man stood alone in the lobby she convinced herself was empty, and he called to Hazuki when he spotted her. He was a young man with some childishness remaining in the... We know who he is.
ちょっと時間もらっていいっすか？
はあ。
どうもっす。
Thanks. He smiled bashfully and then abruptly grabbed Suzuki's arm and began walking from the lobby toward the stairs. Upon seeing Suzuki's confusion, the man pulled a black ID book out of his breast pocket and held it up a little demurely. Sure, it was a police badge. Sue stopped at a stairway landing and looked around with the appearance of one being doubly careful. Okay.
お話って。
Hazuki, who still had work left to do, looked a bit restless. No way. Appearing to understand this, Suwa took a single photograph from his pocket without any
こ
preamble.
の少年に見覚えないっすか？
Pictured there was Nichijo Takumi's listless-looking face. Hazuki, who had confidence in her ability to remember faces as part of her work, had already nodded unthinkingly.
西條拓海。間違いないっすか？
ええ。
Hazuki's hesitation was only natural. Even if the person asking were a police officer, there couldn't be anything good about leaking a patient's information. But Suwa had been well aware of this when he began speaking to Hazuki. He put on an earnest gaze when he revised his previously light attitude, and then lowered his voice. He plunged on ahead.
あるんすけど、西條拓海のカルテ。
そんなの。
Can I take a look at his file, please?
とある事件に関わる重要なことなんすよ。
At her wits' end, Hazuki tried to leave the spot immediately, but Suwa circled around and blocked her path.
困ります。
迷惑はかけないっす。だから頼みますよ。
Suwa fell to his knees then and began prostrating himself.
やめてください。本当に無理なんです。
これ以上犠牲者を出さないためにも。
What on earth could she do to make him give up? Unable to think of a suitable way to refuse him, Hazuki could only keep going in circles. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd say no or not in that situation. That's kind of weird. Plus, I want to know what's going on with him. You know, whatever. I was a little dazed after parting with Sena, but as soon as I returned to myself and dashed back there. Happily, I didn't encounter either Shogun or Yua. In the end, I'd gone home without meeting Remy. Because of the commotion over Ayase and the midday earthquake, school must have cancelled classes early and sent the other students home. It seems like it. If I waited a little longer, maybe Remy would come visit me. Until then, I probably had no choice but to endure the fear on my own. To continue averting my eyes from my anxiety, I decided to use my recovered PC to gather information. The little light on my cell phone, which I'd left next to the monitor, was blinking. When I opened it, I had a new email. I thought maybe Remy had contacted me, but... What? Okay, I'm just gonna read it now. I wasn't sure if I was gonna read it. Okay. Something amazing happened at school today. Someone tried to kill herself by jumping off the roof. It freaked me out and I was really scared. I wondered if she's okay. Were you at school when it happened? Oh, and that earthquake was unbelievable. Okay, it's just... Yeah. Nanami talking about things. I had to go looking at Ayase up online before I couldn't connect to Phantasm's official homepage. No online newspapers has reported on her. Well, they must have their hands full with the earthquake that rocked Shibuya, and they probably couldn't be bothered with the failed suicide attempt of a young indie band's vocalist. At the moment, I didn't have any way to find out whether or not Ayase was alright. Much more information had been determined with respect to the earthquake since the last time I checked. The number of deaths had risen to 118, and there were currently over 300. To think that the fatalities would exceed 3 digits. The epicenter was in Shibuya. Surprisingly, the casualties were almost wholly restricted to the Shibuya region. The earthquake had been a magnitude 5. There were also articles stating that most of the magnetic devices throughout Shibuya had been damaged. When I considered the fact that there were many other people out there who had suffered through tragedies like mine, frustration surged up on me yet again. It was a tragedy indeed. My precious Moe art collection and my Eroge save data would never come back to me for all eternity. Ha. In any case, I couldn't think of it as had been an ordinary earthquake. It was utterly abnormal for there to be 118 deaths. That abnormality, of course, had become a hot topic on the net. Back to the threats. Okay. Cracking my neck. Dude, whose eyes are those eyes? People are already jumping on the gun of that. That's part of the case. Okay. The Senshi I never tasted before is like, okay. I completely missed whatever. I thought I was going to just scroll through the thread and I was going to read it, but whatever. How do you take something like that wouldn't be on it? Die from shock, watch the news and TV as well as looking online, PC turn. Okay.
現在までに死者
We're watching the news,
118
boys.
名、重軽傷者300名以上と非常に多くの犠牲者が出ていることが分かっています。さて、渋谷の駅前と中継がつながったようです。島谷さん、現地の様子はいかがですか
？2005年に同じように震度5の地震が東京であったんですよ。その時はゼロで、なぜ今回は100名以上の被害者が出ているんですか？
被害者の数は震度に比例するわけじゃないんです。そこには様々な要因がありまして、亡くなった方の死因や
He's flicking through a lot of channels. I see, I see.
については未だ詳しい情報が入っておりません。また渋谷区を中心に磁気メディアが全壊してしまっていることについて、今日は
地質学産業研究所より
It's almost like an EMP bomb happened at the time. You know?
財団法人地質調査環境センターより
A static chances. Oh! I gotta save. Thank you for telling me.
今回の地震について磁気メディアに深刻な被害が出た原因というのは、
まず知っておいていただきたいのは、渋谷区あたりの地下200メートル
Again, it could have been like a weird EMP related thing going
地
on.
層の分類としては火成岩層ですが、私たちはこのエリアを地中にある磁石の谷ですね。文字通りかなり大規模な岩脈なんですよ。ここにですね、今回の地震のような大きな刺激が加わったとするならば、その影響で地上に存在する磁生態、何を
This is really enthralling stuff.
小沢先生は別の意見ですか？
確かに渋谷の地下には巨大なマグネタイトの岩脈があることは事実です。ですが、磁石と呼ぶにはあまりにも微弱なこのマグネタイト群にはですね、地上の磁気モーメントや安定磁場を崩すほどの力はないというのが実際ですね。
Well, the GE rates have been increasing, so maybe.
過去のそれらの地震では今回のような被害はなかった。なので原因は別にあるのではないかと考えるのが妥当だと思います。
そうは言うがね、今回の異常な犠牲者数については、渋谷にいた人のほとんどが頭痛がしたって訴えてることからも間違いなく自鉄鋼が
磁場ごときで100人も殺せると主張するおつもりですか？それではここで CM です。
Where's going? Oh man. Alright, commercial break. Good. We're not watching that anymore.
詳しいことは何も分からずか。
Ultimately, they don't know anything detailed. They completely disregarded how, right after the earthquake, vast white cloud had risen over Shibuya, as well as the fact that the sky had turned white. No, at first, everyone had made sure to report about it. It creeped me out, but the way they acted as if it had happened in the first place. Okay. Whew. Didn't break. We're good. Near off-hours entrance at AH General Hospital, there was an area where ambulances could pull up alongside the buildings and deliver emergency patients. They usually called emergency rooms, whatever. Now two ambulances were parked there, and the ambulance crew members attempted to carry people who had been wounded in an earthquake to the hospital. A doctor in pale green surgery scrubs and the middle-aged head nurse yelled while instructing them on how to come in. A number of patients awaiting treatment had already sat down in the area in the off-hours entrance, demonstrating that the doctors had trouble getting to everyone. The patients being brought in, just say brought in could be divided into roughly two groups. Those with external wounds and had blood overflowing from their arms or foreheads. Their faces were screwed up in agony. It was painful to look at them, but their examinations had been postponed. The ones who had been prioritized for admittance were the unconscious patients who had no external wounds whatsoever. This baffling symptom was awfully common among the emergency patients who had been brought here as a result of the earthquake. It was a phenomenon that hadn't been witnessed in previous large earthquakes, and the doctors had yet to determine the reason for their unconsciousness. That's strange. I would kind of personally do the opposite, except like 1 or 2 patients to figure out what's going on, you know? But still keep things moving, you know? I don't know, that's just me. Another ambulance arrived at the scene blaring its shrill siren. Is this Ayase? Top priority, okay. Normally this would have been driven the doctors to complain. The situation is jumbled as this. If someone had said top priority without an explanation, it would be an ordinary to answer, "Are you making fun of me?" Unexpectedly, however, both the doctor and the head nurse nodded at once. They helped bring the stretcher down from the ambulance. Ayase lay on the stretcher as though sleeping. Unconscious, she groaned faintly. Unconcerned with how the hateful stares of her externally wounded patients seated around her. Seated all around. The doctor and the ambulance crew hastened to carry the stretcher inside the hospital. Rimi's there too? Why? How is... Why... Why is Rimi there? I don't know. What's going on? The earthquake concerned me, but it was even more preoccupied with thoughts of Shogun. Though my migraine had mostly gone away, anxiety continued to dominate my head. Being alone made me grow more and more depressed. I had yet to receive any form of contact from Rimi. I tried calling her, but I got her voicemail again. Even so, up until now, Rimi had invariably came up sailing to whatever I was and reassuring me, saying it'll be okay. Why wouldn't she come for me today? Hadn't she told me she... Okay. I ground my teeth and immersed myself into redoing my PC settings to elude my insecurity. That is my form of entertainment as well. I'd start by fixing my email config from the ground up. Since I hadn't touched it since I first tweaked the settings, I didn't remember how I liked how it... That sounds really familiar. I had to begin by finding the instructions for my email software in ISP. Before I knew it, I was dumped with sweat, though it didn't involve a huge amount of labor. Many times midway through, I would want to throw it all away in irritation. Honestly, I've reset my PC so many times. I have backup for settings and stuff now. Not completely, but like stuff like my music software that I use to listen to music and stuff. Like my email, I just use Gmail. Like I don't even bother with like Thunderbird or something else. But I'd finally become able to hear her voice. It's a real relief to listen to her, and I felt like it'd been finally her voice is coming through. I had 8 new items in my inbox. Pretty much all of them were spam. Mixed in with the spam, there was an email with a subject line from a sender that caught my attention. Whose eyes are those eyes? Sent by Nanami. I groaned without thinking. What was this? Was Nanami pulling my leg? If so, that made her the lowest of the low. I'm gonna beat her to death. No, wait a sec. Nanami couldn't have emailed me here. She'd never sent me mail to my PC address in my past. A little earlier, even though she'd mailed my cell phone, I hadn't told her my PC email address in the first place. The convergence of multiple coincidences had it just sort of happened. Nanami was quite a common name. I don't know, it's Japan. I can't comment on that. Even the phrase, whose eyes are those eyes, was incredibly popular right now. You see it getting used all over the place. Time for some chocolate. There's nothing weird about getting used to the little title of spam email. It's not spam, dog. It's too convenient. No way. I'm not a big fan, Dark Chocolate. No. I don't know why. I've never been a big guy. I'll eat it, but I'm just not crazy. Just like regular, milk chocolate or whatever.
ちなみに送信者の名前はダミー。僕の名前は将軍だよ。
Shogun.
将軍が僕のメアド知ってるはずが。
What if Shogun were recording my thoughts? Why don't you just assume it at this point? Because you keep going back to that. Extracting my email address might be easy as pie for him.
嘘でしょ
Oh my god. Where's this going? What if Shogun did? Alright, let me sit down and read the whole message here. Sender's name is an alias. My name is Shogun. I'm so glad Ayase-san was rescued. I thought perhaps I'd use her as a victim of my next new-gen creation. But suicide is fine too. But how very like you, Takumi-kun, to hit a new high score. You've left me in awe. You truly are special. Now next up is Nichijou Nanami. It'd be nice to see a dramatic development involving siblings. But thanks to the earthquake, Shibuya is currently in a rather brutal state. It's up to you whether or not you will be able to reach a conclusion as touching as to send all that flying away. Hasn't it started becoming a bit troublesome to set off a quest unarmed? You're a hero, so don't you want to get your hands on a hero's sword? Look for her, do it! Let's start the Nanami-chan rescue quest. I'd like you to come to the roof of O-Front at 9 p.m. tonight. I'm planning to get you on TV, so be sure to look properly heroic. Where is this going? What present, though?
勇者なんかじゃない。ナイトハルトじゃない。
Get murdered right off the bat. I want to run away, run away. Run away. Rumi, I had to get Rumi to protest me. Where is this possibly going? I took my phone in hand, looked to see if there's any caller messages right from Rina. Where the heck was she? I had to start. My phone email inbox. At the very top was displayed the mail from Nanami had reached me shortly after before. Nanami, was she okay? Yeah, you're gonna beat her to a pulp, right? Yeah. Now next up is Nichijou Nanami-chan. Let's start with the Nanami-chan rescue quest. I wonder, what he means by that, I'm leaving, man. He's thick as a brick, I swear. I swear. Ignore the alarm. So he's calling her? Let's call the sister. Bricks aren't very dense. Stone, then. I don't know. Hey, do you have a dead signal? There we go. There we go, now we're popping. Huh? What's going on? Oh boy. Save. It's negative. I was gonna do negative actually. I shook my head. I'd never heard Nanami's ringtone, so there's no evidence that this melody belonged to Nanami's phone. Frightened, I put my phone back to my ear one more time. Whoa! Nanami still didn't pick up. Please hurry up and answer. Where'd the noise go?
ナナミでしょ。返事しろよ。今どこにいるんだ。大丈夫なの？何か言ってよ。ナナミ。
I desperately called into the phone, and the voice that came in return was.
なんて。
I couldn't easily take off the fact that Shogun had picked up when I called Nanami's cell phone. It took all that I had simply to repeat the same word like a nitwit.
メールの意味がわからなかったのかな。
信じない。こんなの信じない。
Oh. Well, the noise is back. And it was a delusion, I think. What is that noise? This is to signify that Nanami's cell phone was in my room. I couldn't think of any alternatives. I could no longer avert my eyes from reality. I lowered the hand holding the phone at the snail's pace. Well, she's not picking up. If I kept it organized, it'd soon no. Alright. This box. It's about the size of 2 Aerogay boxes lined up on. Why everything is scaled in a very Alright. But it was firmly sealed with packing tape.
Yeah.
Like he's never seen anything else. If it were an auction item, I would have sent it off as soon as I taped it closed. It occurred to me that perhaps Nanami had brought something from no. During the span of an hour when I'd gone to school, someone had come here. Okay, what's the present? Open the box. Chill ran down my back. Earlier when I'd staggered out of my base, I couldn't remember having locked the door behind me. Which was natural enough, because at the time I'd been tormented by a stabbing migraine, and my consciousness was hazy. When I returned from school an hour later, the door had been unlocked. Anyone could have been free to enter. Had Shogun come here? I looked at the box again. The melody continued ringing. Nanami's cell phone was inside of it. I gingerly picked up that cardboard box. Heavy. Far too heavy for me to think a cell phone was on the one. Okay. Just cut inside of it. Just get and open it up. Just open it up. Besides, I was worried about Nanami. She was in P. Okay. Okay. So Shogun had written on his email. I looked at the clock. It was 7:30. Another hour and a half till the designated time. Just open the box! Holy mother! Why? Just... There was a lump wrapped in aluminum foil. Styrofoam peanuts were neatly stuffed in there alongside it. I peeked in timidly, but I couldn't find a phone. I heard the melody from inside the lump of aluminum foil. Sweat entered my eyes, making them sting. My whole body had gone and soaked in sweat without my knowing of it. It just went away again. Oh, it repeated. I was on the verge of voicing my gripes. I sought words of deliverance from Sierra Tan, but she wouldn't say anything to me. Yeah, the lump part I don't like. The whole range of delusions were swirling around my head, and the brink of exploding to the point where I couldn't have imaginary conversations with Sierra Tan. The heightening of my emotions made my nerve endings seem to burn apart, but the cell phone's carefree melody closely urged me on. Bracing myself, I pinched the edges of the aluminum foil with the fingers. It is not an illusion. I ripped the aluminum foil off at once. I heard the melody more clearly now. I was afraid to open my eyes. I strove to collect my breathing, but it didn't go well at all. It would be okay, it was fine, there wasn't anything bad here. Well, I don't believe it is. No doubt Nanami would come in the room sooner or later, saying, "Yeah, I got you," with a smile. Yeah, that's the case. That's the reason. Tell me that's how it is, Nanami. Where's it going? Softly opened my eyelids. I saw it. It's about what I thought. it's a hand with a cell phone with from Nanami. It's a slender, clean leaf, severed hand. It held the same cell phone model as mine. Yeah, I was afraid it was like a chunk of her stomach or something. I don't know.
へえ、かわいいバングルじゃん。
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
なのにちょうだい。お兄、どう？似合う？
and it's kept ringing. Holy mother, these... First off, it got really loud. Second off, this ringtone is going forever. Screen transition. Okay, we're back here. Alright, we're back here. No hand we're dealing with right now. Cleanup is not a problem.
君は元医師だろ。患者に説明するように分かりやすく簡潔に話してもらえるとありがたい。
努力しましょう。さて、人間の脳の中にある何億という。
Yeah, there you go.
それらしかし実際には各神経の先端にある手と手の間には脳細胞
Hocus pocus, her hand is back in focus. Bam!
その神経の手のひらから極小の物質ドーパミンがボールのように飛び出してきます。それは反対側の神経の手のひらにキャッチされ再度情報の電気信号に変わってまた隣の脳細胞に伝わっていく。脳の構造は簡単に言うとその繰り返しです。我が社が開発した第2世代ノア2は人に疑似的な映像を見せることを可能として、
あるいは幻覚かな。
幻覚の方が近いでしょう。ですが明確に違う点としてその疑似的映像は確かな存在感が人間の目。視覚というのは視野は単眼の場合鼻側60度。
So they've reached the point where they can show
両眼の重複視野
physical illusions that have weight and stuff.
その一方で以前ご説明したようなデッドスポットもまた存在する。脳にとって視覚とは最もつながりの深い部位です。脳はそのおよそ 80% を
その点については300
It's not that I'm not interested in this. It's just like
人間の視覚にはまだまだ謎が
it's not really, laid out too interestingly.
世界中で研究テーマとして上がっているものだけでも1000以上に及ぶからね。
アメリカで数年前に発行された行政命令というのは委員会による圧力ですか？
圧力ではない。これは選定だよ。300人委員会はどこの馬の骨とも知れん研究者がこの分野に足を踏み入れることを歓迎せん。当然ながらアメリカだけではなく世界各国にも同様の指示は出ている。
我が国は随分自由のようですね。私のような人間を放置しているぐらいです。
勘違いしてはいかんな。君はすでに選定済みだからこそ君には何よりも成果が求められている。
300人委員会
So, is Nozomi part of this committee or not?
というわけですね。
うかつな口を聞くなと言っておる。今はまだ我らの真の目的を誰にも悟られてはならない。たとえ委員会に対して
これは失礼。
説明を続けたまえ。
ノア2が生み出した疑似的映像は視神経パルスに変換して電磁波として照射します。対象の皮膚や頭蓋骨を貫通して直接ドーパミン受容体、つまり先ほどの説明でいうところの手の、そして
So they use dopamine in means to transfer information and in fact produce illusions or deceptions, whatever.
混乱した脳は
Okay.
人間の視界の中に無から有を作り出すノア2を用いれば街中のどこを見ても先生の選挙ポスターだらけなどという芸当も容易というわけです。ただし あくまで人々のバイオリズムが高い状態であることが条件です。
幻覚によって意志を誘導するか。沈黙の兵器として
Really enthralling
条
conversation.
件さえ満たせば対象のっている世界を自在に書き換えることができる。
それはギガロマニアックスと同等の力ということ。
その通りです。ノア2は機械仕掛けのギガロマニアックス、理論値通りに稼働を始めればギガロマニアックスたちと同等、いや近い将来それ以上の能力を再現できるようになります。
だが効果の有
This is not boring. Like, the stuff they're talking about, I don't find boring. But they present it in a really boring way.
という点がおろそかになる。我々は無差別な洗脳を望んでおるわけではない。
ご心配なく。そのために機能因子を用意してあります。
Okay.
モニターをご覧ください。
なんだこの小汚い連中は。
我が社ではポーターと呼んでいます。
Oh my god. Sam Porter Bridges is coming to town.
言い換えればマインドコントロールのための部隊。彼らが背負っているリュックの中にはノア2のパルス波を送受信するためのポートが入っています。ポートは信号を受け取るとリモートで周囲へと放出するわけです。
歩く端末というわけか。
限定的使用も問題ないことになるね。
状況は理解した。
So they have a bunch
貴
of...
様は引き続き計画を続行したまえ。
This must be the second Stranding game I've heard so much.
ただし300人委員会に悟られるような言動はくれぐれも慎むよう。
あとは何人犠牲を出そうと構わん。
ご理解いただきありがとうございます。
Oh my god, the connection's dropping again. Oh, that's not good.
それではポーターとして使える人材を提供していただきたいです。
So they want to make an army of people that they can use to
手配し
use as extensions of this system.
それと引き続き
Somehow.
先生方にはメディアのコントロールをお願いいたします。すべては我ら3人の目指す
Whoa! Okay, hold on, wait, hold on. Just- Let me grab foods out there for me. I'm just gonna grab it real quick. 2 seconds here. You got the borders, man. You got the borders. Okie dokie. Promise I won't go crazy right after that. Okay, anyway. What the hell did I miss? Nothing, okay. We were in Sierra Tan's thing. Where's this going? This can't be good. Yes, I can hear you, Sierra Tan. Put an end to this game? This isn't a game, this is real life, though.
ナナミッチはサッキーの大事な妹だってのはわかるけど
What? Is she trying to... Oh. This can't be good.
腕を切り落とされちゃったらさ普通
Oh
出
my
血
god.
多量で死んじゃう
Oh my god.
なんで
もうさゲームオーバーなんだよきっと早くゲームをやめないと
Oh my
たく
god.
さん
Where's...
人が死んじゃう
でもセイラさんだって悪いやつと戦っ
だって私はアニメだもん
From an anime. Oh! Woo! I jammed my Sierra Tan figure into my uniform's inner pocket. What? You actually did that? Okay, why? I don't. You should have just... Well, I mean, it is a coping mechanism for him to go out in the world, I guess. I don't know. Shit's crazy. Under normal, ordinary circumstances, I never even carry a figure around with me. Nothing else, there was the danger that I'd get damaged. As an otaku, breaking one of my darling wives was one number one taboo. But I can no longer afford to maintain that policy of mine. For now, I wanted moral support. I might not even be alive tomorrow, but I took one last peek down at Sierra Tan, whose face is stuck out from inside my pocket. By doing so, I somehow succeeded in fighting back my seeping tears. Somehow collided with me from behind, and I staggered. When I looked over, a thuggish man was giving me a disagreeable stare. But he didn't complain to me as soon as he disappeared in the crowd. I surveyed the area, the Shibuya Scramble Crossing. There was a vast crowd of people, one that made it hard to think it was 9 o'clock on a weekday night. Not to mention a place where an earthquake with over 100 fatalities had taken place. I felt like I could suffocate from just walking in the light of change. Front, back, right, rear, left, people were everywhere. And all of them were raising their voices in one great mass, as if they were cheering on teams in a soccer match. It's quite the analogy, though. Soccer teams and stuff. I don't know. People were sending reports. A lot of conversation about people, man. For someone who doesn't like people, he sure looks to talk about it. Alright. We're holding some kind of event in a day like this, at a time like this. Inappropriate, considering that 100 plus people had died. Wouldn't they consider taking things more seriously? On top of that, the media had joined them on their uproar. Japan was done with. This country's over with. We can't keep this up. Not that it mattered much to me. O-Front, the building designed by Shogun, was located right by the pedestrian scramble. Zetsuya, Tsutaba, and other stores could be found in it. I hadn't truly meant to come alone, but I hadn't been able to get in contact with Rimi. Since it was possible that the police still wrongly accused me of being the new-gen perp, I couldn't report it to them either. But I thought about doing such things. The time Shogun had set kept approaching me, worried that Nanami started to drive me up the wall. So I couldn't stop myself from coming here, Sierra Tan in hand. Cutting my way through the sea of people, I managed to get inside O-Front. Where's this going, man? Like, where... I wonder how this is gonna go. That's I really don't have much else to say other than what's this gonna go by. I took the escalator to the upper floors. I could look down in the scramble crossing below the Tsutaba's windows. There was an astonishing number of people there after all. Furthermore, all of them were waving and bobbing up, making little jumps, and countless black heads and diluted, whatever. Hold on, it was clearly brighter here than it had been down there. It was enough to make me wonder if all the spotlights were aimed in my direction. Even every time the escalator carried me to a higher floor, my heartbeat grew ferociously. When I took out my cell phone to see the time, it was a minute past the promised time at 9 o'clock. If Shogun got pissed off by this and killed Nanami, The thought of it made me go cold, and I sprinted my way up the escalator, pushing aside the customers ahead of me. Midway through, I switched to an elevator and took it to the highest floor. I didn't know how to climb the roof from there, but as I wandered around, careful not to catch anyone's attention, I soon found a back staircase. I succeeded in reaching the roof as we entered at once without receiving anyone's censure. That's a word. The wind came strong up the roof, a terribly lukewarm wind, given that it was nearly the end of October. I soon realized it was natural wind, but rather air expelled from the outdoors portion of the air conditioning system. I closed my front buttons to prevent Sierra Tan from flying out. Shut up. Thanks, dummy! Thanks for saving Major and not flying off! Dude, this chicken is so fucking hard. Ugh. I should have got a knife. I desperately attempted to convince myself of it. Even so, it was dark. The only illumination came from the back of a neon O-front sign. In contrast, the neon surrounding the building was too bright, making it hard to see. Even though some were hiding in the shadows, I had a feeling that I definitely wouldn't spy them out. When someone called me out in the blue, my heartbeat, which had just started to slow down a bit, began banging up again. I looked around, for it was too dim to tell where it had spoken from. I heard a sound, a creaking sound, one I'd heard numerous times before. This time I deliberately focused my gaze on the other side of the darkness. There I found the shining, albeit backlit wheels of his wheelchair. Shogun. He voiced my name in a friendly way. The uncanniness of made me have goosebumps. I didn't want to talk to Shogun. He frightened me. I wanted to run away from here immediately. Don't say that, mommy. Hey, I'm not alone. I have Sierra Tan. His voice was weird. That's more than just, I don't know. What was going on? His voice kept transforming. When he used a machine or something, did he want to conceal his identity by hiding his voice? Besides, I didn't understand what he was saying. Sierra Tan's right about this. The things Sierra Tan tells me are always the most correct. Not always, man. She just told me. Alright, whatever. I cleansed Sierra Tan's body through my clothes. It seemed like fear would make my heart leap from my mouth. Even so, I frantically forced my voice out. I thought scenes like this occurred only in TV and games. Shut up! Why'd they have to use the fish burger picture? Oh, she will never eat a fish burger again. Nami's sulky face rode at the back of my mind. She's been insolent. Frankly, she's been a pain. Despite that, I was so grief-stricken, sad enough that tears could come out.
Nanami wa boku no imoto nanda. Nande korosita nda? Shinda to omou. Moshikashitara kimi no ie ni okutta ano tekuri wa banguru to keitai wa Nanami-chan no mono da to shite mo tekuri sonomono wa betsujin no.
Why are you saying this?
信じちゃダメだってば。
君が見事クエストをクリアしたら、ナナミちゃんは返すよ。生きているナナミちゃんをね。
Shogun used that word again. Did he want me to get into it like I was playing a game? But in reality, I'm no hero. His voice abruptly went as cold as a blade. It was pathetic to me to cower in fear like an old man, but he was abnormal after all. He was the true Nujin criminal. He's been chosen?
勘違いしちゃダメだよ。あいつの言う選ばれたってのは次の犠牲者として選ばれたって意味なんだから。
Recalling the wretched fate of the victims in the sequence of New Gen incidents, I shivered.
今日の昼間のことを。昼間？学校で君は岸本綾瀬を助けた。
Shogun had mentioned the ruckus about Ayase's failed suicide attempt in his email. Came out of nowhere. He must have been watching the hubbub from somewhere. Or else he had the culprit and he used mind control to make her commit suicide.
あの花壇のおかげで岸本綾瀬は一命を取り留めた。そうです。
Shogun knew about the power I was supposed to possess. At the time, no one on the spot had wondered about that flower bed. Only Seina had recognized it for what it was, and Seina had said this to me.
お前が妄想したんだろ。タッキー、将軍の言うことは全力で否定して。
I see. Maybe Shogun dogged in me. Maybe Shogun was trying to kill me. Because I possessed that power or whatnot. If I claimed I didn't have any power, he might let me slip away.
僕には力って何のこと？僕はそんな言葉は。
タッキーには力なんかないよ。ただの妹なんだよ。
You're an otaku creep, you know.
私にハーハーしてるだけの無害の引きこもり予備軍。そうっしょ？
Oh my god. I'd totally be gonna buy it. But for starters, they were obviously kind of mental. I'd have to be up my rocker to unquestionably swallow words of a mental patient. Even Rimi had said, isn't that itself a delusion?
僕がやったって花壇を何もないところから出現させるなんて、そんなの僕には無理。花壇が何もないところから出現したんだ。他の人は誰もが最初からそこに花壇があった。君だけは花壇は最初はそこになかったってそう認識しているわけだ。
Might have dug my own grave again. More importantly, who the hell was Shogun? Was when he implied that the other student and teachers had said so. It couldn't mean that he had spoken to them himself, could it? Why don't they have a sprite for Shogun? Like it's just looking at the roof.
どうやったのか。でも使えた。君が妄想したことが。
惑わされないで。タッキー、本当に力なんてあると思う？そんなのアニメの世界じゃん。タッキーがいるのは現実なんだよ。ただのことも綾瀬っちが2人に分裂したこともそれらが現実だったって証明できる？無理っしょ。分裂した綾瀬っちの体に触った？
He's like in this situation, he still listens to her. Like it's insane.
そもそもタッキーはあの時警察とかユアッチに追われて動転してたし。
And what about the flower bed?
同じだよ。
Alright, I'm just gonna try taking a bite out of the chicken. I'm not even gonna cut it. Okay, hold on one sec. This is gonna be... Pretty dry. Oh my god.
そこへ行った時、頭が痛くてフラフラしてた。綾瀬っちが落ちるまでにはっきりとそこに花壇があることを確認した？みんな誰一人として花壇が出現したことを疑問に。逆に言えば最初からそこにあったから疑問に思わないってことっしょ。タッキーが間違えてただけなんだよ。将軍の言葉に惑わされちゃダメ。
花壇は
My god.
最初からそこにあった。
It's clear that the Sierra Tam, whatever she says, is like in his innermost thoughts. If he doesn't have the courage to talk about himself.
最初はそこにはなかったって思い込んでたけど、記憶違いだった。僕の脳内での妄想だよ。だってみんなあそこには花壇があったって力とかそういうわけのわからないものじゃなくて、ただの思い込みだったんだ。いや、君には力がある。そうだろ。
Again, I wish they had a sprite for Shogun.
はい。そうだろ。わからない。君は自分の天才的な力について、その潜在能力はすごすぎる。君なら世界を変えることだってできる。
I want to go shut myself up in my base in a marathon ESO endlessly. He's still 17 after all. I want to look at Sierra Tan figures until I can't stop grinning. Okay. Even though that was all that I desired.
私がずっと一緒にいてあげる。私だけがタッキーの味方なの。
I'm your only... No! Remy is...
だから帰ろう。三次元とのつながりなんて断ち切って楽しいことだけしている。
doing only fun things.
前置きはこれぐらいにして、まずは下のスクランブル交差点がよく見えるところまで行ってほしい。
逃げなきゃ。このままじゃ本当に殺されちゃうよ。
Where's this going?
聞こえなかった？スクランブル交差点を見下ろせるところへ移動するんだ。何を？
My legs trembled and I couldn't walk. I hugged myself. I'd even lost the ability to judge whether or not I should heed what he was saying.
僕の言うことが聞き、従ってもらわないと、ナナミちゃんの命は保証できない。
どうせもう死んじゃってるよ。
Shut up!
ナナミの声聞かせて。その必要はないよ。君はもう少し今の状況を考えた方がいい。
Yeah, I don't know what the situation is. This is so weird. I didn't want to think Nanami had died. Didn't want to imagine a dead Nanami. Resigning myself, I did as Shogun said and began walking for a better view of the scramble crossing. Oh god. Okay, a single female voice particularly caught my ear, but apparently was coming from the Jumbotron mounted on the neighboring building. Examined the wall in a rush, moving only my eyes. One place did have a hole in it, large enough for a single person to pass through while standing. Is he asking you to commit suicide?
そこから顔を出して下にいるギャラリーに挨拶もう一度言おうかその穴から身を乗り出して下にいる人たちに
ほらあいつタッキーを殺す気なんだって
My breath caught. Was this how he made 5 people jump off? It was Sierra Tan that had said after all. I had no other option but to die as well. I had to jump from here.
そんなの拒否すればナナミちゃんは死ぬよ
従えばタッキーは死んじゃうよ
What was I supposed to do? I thought about taking the best possible course of action, but delusion of the worst case scenario for all kinds of potential patterns turned around me and around my head, and I couldn't get my brain working properly. Save me, somebody.
鬼のバカ
It does a flashback to the back, one of the Baka scenes, really? Nanami's voice echoed in my panicked ears. What? Nanami flickered through my eyes, smiling and gesturing casually. It was my fault. Nanami had been absolutely nothing to do with it, yet Shogun had abducted her and cut off her arm because of me. I'm sorry, Nanami, I'm sorry. Okay. And I steadily drew closer to the broken hole with my midst of the fogging field light of sight. Whatever. Tentatively looked out at the ground. What is going on? Without any warning, a huge cheer burst up, one that resembled the rumbling of the earth. The vast herd of gathered in the plaza, and the media, the ones who gathered for some event were preparing to begin at just the same time. An onslaught of dazzling light hit me. I automatically narrowed my eyes and turned my face away, which brought the Jumbotron on the building next door into view. Without any room for doubt, the thing projected there was me, wasn't it? Yeah. It's gotta be. Yeah. Reflected on the Jumbotron screen, my face was sloppy with tears and I had my mouth half open like a dumbass. On top of that, my back was hunched. Nice words. Yeah. Where's this going? I had chills thinking it was recording me that had been secretly filmed somewhere. Going further, I began to suspect the film that Shogun had taken and thoughts had been played back there. At last, I realized it showed me here in this place at this very moment. The live recording running on Jumbotron came with the sensationalistic taglines. What? The Miracle Esper Boy makes his debut. What? is going on? Ribbon of explanatory text scrolled along the bottom of the screen. A miraculous Esper boy introduced to us by the world-class psychic Yuri Brightman. His urgent live performance. Can he scry the identity? What? This is a lot to take in. When I read it, I understood at last. The media crews and rubberneckers, yeah, gathered at the scramble crossing. We were all watching me. Why are you scrutinizing someone like me? Esper boy? What the hell? Positive or negative? This sucks. We're gonna go positive. We've had a lot of negative today. And I'm also gonna save. Yeah, I can tell. I think I saved after I pressed positive. Whatever. Do you all understand what kind of day it's been? An earthquake occurred, man. Magnitude 5, over 100 people died. Yet why is everyone lying in wait for and getting worked up over an otaku freak like me? What? Shogun. Shogun must have been the one who gathered them. They were all under his mind control. Everyone was looking forward to seeing me jump off from here and die. An overwhelming mass of negative emotions pounded at me. Say, is anyone out here my ally? Suddenly, I heard a voice calling my name in the midst of the commotion. What? Why is Remy? What? Remy was calling for me somewhere. Where was she? I frantically sought out her form. There was too many people, it was impossible to distinguish a single person out from all of them. And from this height, struck by despair, I hung my head in jargon. Consequently, I ended up looking directly down, and there stood the figure of a girl looking at me, waving her arms wide.
Remy!
She was there for me. She'd come to save me. Overjoyed, feeling as if I'd been saved, I nodded again and again. I fueled a sight blurred with tears. Not wanting to lose sight of Remy for a single second, I scrubbed the tears away. However, when I gazed once more at the place from which Remy had been waving her hand at me, something seemed strange. For some reason, the horde of people in the area had surrounded Remy and were pushing closer to her. With her at the center, their black heads surged and fell. Several hoodlums along them stretched their arms toward Remy and began jostling her. She fought back, trying to shake them off and flee, but she was surrounded by too many people, unable to move so much as a single step, as if she were crammed in a morning train full of commuting workers. I frantically heard Remy screaming. The guys gradually escalated their behavior, and their numbers grew greater as well. As they moshed her, they pulled at her clothes, stripping her to— okay. Where is this going? My prayer didn't go through, the horde surging through her kept multiplying, and Remy's solitary resistance had virtually no effect. Countless men tore her clothing, pulling her hair, dragged her along the pavement. This isn't positive. Her figure had already disappeared inside the mass of people, and I could no longer see her. Like hyenas swarming in the corpse of an animal, even more thugs swarmed in the place where Remy advanced from sight. How could they? They were going to rape her. Those thugs had been gathered by Shogun and placed under his mind control and roughed Remy and tated her. Okay. Surely she would die in a hideous death after they violated her. Tears overflowed, bit my lip hard. I wasn't simply crying out of sorrow and aggravation over what was happening to Remy. More so that I wept from the terror of being forced to see that all the people here were my enemies. I could no longer flee anywhere from here. Terrified, so scared I might piss myself. It's the first time I'd felt death so close on hand. My consciousness went faint, like a child persisting to say no. I screamed and cried, the expectation that my actions will get Shogun to let up on me. The expectation that my actions will shake people to sympathize with me and come to help me. George! Okay. The expectation of that is probably not even the fucking song, whatever. Expectation that if I did so, maybe my parents sitting at home and watching TV would come out and offer themselves up in exchange for me. The expectation that if I did so, maybe Remy would come, riding on her white horse to rescue me. The expectation that if I'd open my eyes with a gasp, I discovered the truth that this was all a dream. Brimming with those varied hopes, I shook my head desperately and recited my wish. I don't want to die. But his voice hadn't changed a bit from before. Awakening? When he said that, I lost the ability to retreat or turn around. Oh my god. Hakuna Matata. His voice is very cool, yet it gave off a forcefulness that provided me with no room to back down. What do you... How? Until now, I'd searched for it everywhere and there had been practically no signs of me finding it. How ridiculous, asking me to find it out of the blue in a place like this. Isn't it that I only need to say for you to understand what I mean? I don't understand. Eat some testosterone. Testosterone. Okay. Sliding FPS. Yeah. Watch out, she's sliding on the ground. She is cute. I'd still say probably Remy's best girl at this point, but she is still kind of cute. You know, I mean, she's Alright, so when is Ayase gonna show back up? Or not, that is Ayase. When is Sena gonna come back up? Names, man. Names are hard. Yeah, well, I didn't mean like that. Well, Koji, we haven't seen with a sword. So we can't confirm or deny that she can do it. In other words, Shogun was hiding my dai sword somewhere in the landscape I couldn't see from here. He wanted me to find it. Is Misumi the real Shogun? Who knows at this point? Of course I couldn't do that. If I couldn't move from here, how was I supposed to get it from the sword? How the hell was Shogun trying to make me do it? Yeah, and he's not doing anything in the story past being his friend. Yeah. So I don't know. But if I take you one step away from here, he's gonna kill Nami.
七海内はどうせ助からないってば。あいつの言葉を見るの？嘘ついてるかもしれないよ。
I strained my eyes. Due to the radiant light from below, it was hard to see what lay far away. I love how this is the pan. Like, we're not even looking down at the crowd. We're just like, whoa, look at the buildings. Alright. I keep forgetting this is supposed to be the perspective of where he's standing from versus, like, he's in a building, you know, in the building over here or something, you know? I ruminated over Yase and saying his voices one more time. How was I supposed to pull this off? Right then, for some reason, I remembered a pattern in the ceiling of my room. Kinda random. Since long ago, I had a vague thought that I went on as I went to sleep. The wood grain of the ceiling looked kind of like a person's face. Once I started looking at it like that, I stopped being able to see it as anything other than a face. I forget what that term's called, but yeah, I get what this is. That's true, it's hardly the same thing as the pattern as a piece of wood. If you see the sword cut it out, you can do it? Like that flower bed, like the divided Yasis. The last time I tried to make my fake dye sword materialize as the real thing, nothing had happened. Kill Sierra. He has to sacrifice his waifu in order to make a sword. Oh, that was supposed to actively look. One more time. Oh, good. I wasn't even looking, so I'm just gonna be answering no a lot. Save? Oh. Save. I saw it as an illusion. Or hallucination. I didn't see anything! Oh. What? He just pushed me? Hold on. Where's this gonna go? Alright, so am I supposed to answer yes? I think I'm fucked. I think I'm fucked. You can see that sword from places other than here. Yes. I guess. I don't know where it's going anymore. Nope. Hold on. Maybe it's not too late. I don't know the answer, but we're gonna find out. Gameplay. It's not actually a sword. Bear with me then. Yes. Oh. In the vague blurring night scenery in the midst of the landscape, whose light was bent into the well, and found a place that looked just like a sword. I was in Yas. It didn't take that long. I'm saving though. I don't want to do that again. I was fine with anything, even if I had only happened to appear like that. A coincidence. Yeah, that's it's quite the spot for a sword. I could already make it out with its outlines clearly.
そんなことしたら下に落ちちゃう。落ちたら死んじゃうよ。
No emergency medical brigade had arrived yet. It was the same as this afternoon. Their response times were slow. They were to be expected. That just showed how intense the casualties from the earthquake at noon had been. I guess the plan is just to find anything that looks like a sword and make it into a sword. Sword? I don't know. I really, like, we just got over a conversation with Sena. She's like, don't do this anymore. Don't make any more errors in the reality, you know, don't do this. And here we are getting forced to, you know. Can I really do it? Would that sword become mine merely by stretching out my hand? If it were true, there'd be nothing wrong with giving it a try. Yase had said my Dai sword would bring me salvation. Maybe these words had implicitly been referring to this very moment. I would attain my sword and clear this quest, and Nanami would come home unharmed, and Shogun would stop interfering with me. I don't know about that last part, but I'd go home a peaceful lifestyle led up to now.
将軍があっさりタッキーを見逃すって？だって相手は10人も殺した連続殺人鬼なんだよ。
Probably more than that. Even Shogun wouldn't try to make the impossible. I could do it. Tell me because I could. Dang it. He only wants to kill you. Okay. I want her to shut up. Honestly. We have to ignore her. And thousands of people stuffed into the plaza came close, heed every gesture. For that matter, the broadcast meant tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people throughout all Japan were watching me. Why are so many people watching you, though? What is... My heart seemed about to crumble under the pressure of being watched by such a vast number of people. No, I mustn't be cautious of it. If I became too conscious of it, nervousness would have kept me from moving forward so much as a finger. Now I had to focus on the sword. Being careful on my feet, I stood there and stretched out my hand. Fixing my aim on the sword in my sight, I tried to grasp it by instinct alone. But I felt nothing. The wind mercilessly rushed at me. Moreover, the direction of the wind was indeterminate. As soon as I thought it was coming from in front of me, the next instant would push me from side to side. I guess I was gripping the acrylic plate to hold myself up, but it was slippery, so the only thing that really helped were my nerves. If I became even a little distracted, I'd get thrown off the edge. Even so, I frantically attempted to seize the sword, but no matter how many times I tried, I didn't succeed. Tears poured out of me again. My field of sight went misty, and the sword-like object I had seen only faintly began to disintegrate. I hastily wiped my tears. If I lost sight of it once, I had a feeling I'd never find it again. Yeah, just, you know, go further, man. If I fell from here. Yeah, it's like you're 10 stories up or something. If not, Nanami wouldn't return no matter how long you wait. Okay. My shaking wouldn't stop. My trembling made my feet seem about to slip. I was completely coward. Okay. I unwillingly thrust my body through the hole again and reached out my hand. I could still see the sword there. I tried to do it over and over, but it was still no good. It definitely seemed like I could reach it, but no matter what, I could never quite get there. I leaned out further still. I stretched my hand towards the sword as if I were reaching with my whole body. I strained the tips of my fingers to the limit, and slowly closed my hand. Before I felt nothing. It was impossible. Sierra Tan had been right. There wasn't any way I could grab a half-transparent sword like that in the first place. Plot perspective made it seem like it was an ordinary size, but thinking about it more calmly, it had been unbelievably gigantic. It wasn't the size of something that a person could hold.
掴めばクエストクリアなんだ。ナナミちゃんを助けなくていいの。助けて。お許して。
My God.
昼間のことを思い出すんだ。君の力があれば、君は落ちても死なない。
The flower bed isn't gonna save you from this height. Not at all.
タッキーがここから落ちて、下の地面に激突するまでほんの3秒もない。その間に自分の意志でまた花壇を出現させる。タッキーがそんなすごいことできる？今まで一度も自分で意識してその力とかってのを
Another fucking delusion. Alright. Save. Positive, negative. Flip a coin probably at this rate, is it? Make a trampoline. I'm thinking about a trampoline. Flip a coin. Alright, we're going positive, baby. Oh, I gotta take some meds. But anything more is asking too much of you. Of all the people, Sierra Tan's the one that is knocking me so hard. Oh, God, these pills taste awful.
タッキーはよくやったよ。妹を亡くした悲劇の兄として今後もやっていけるって。
A tragic brother. Oh my! Yeah, alright, let's go back! I didn't realize it would just keep...
ねえ、逃げよう。でもこれ以上死にたくない。
But Nanami...
はっきり言ってあげる。ナナミッチが死んだっていいじゃん。
Oh my god. Well, we're still here.
自分の命よりナナミッチの命の方が大事なの？
Nanami is my beloved little sister and...
突き詰めれば他人一緒？死んだら悲しいけど、それだけ。
Bruh, we need to do the right thing, and that means her saving her sister. It would hurt. It would. She's so selfish.
タッキーにとっての世界が終わるの。わかる？死後の世界なんてない。天国もない。
I think there would be some psychological trauma for making your sister die. Like, even if you don't like her.
タッキーっていう一人の動物の生命活動が終わって、タッキーはもう世界を観測できなくなるんさ。それって世界が終わる？
She's also not a real person, correct?
タッキーが死んだら、タッキーが観測してたナナミッチもどうせ消えるってことなんだよ。ナナミッチだけじゃない。リミッチもアヤセッチも、みんな消える。
From my perspective, yes, but not everyone else's.
だけならタッキーは消えないで済むし、タッキーの世界も消えないで済むんさ。ブラチューの最終回もちゃんと見られるし、来年発売予定のブラチューのゲームも私の新作フィギュアも。
Pirachu, I need to watch Pirachu.
ねえ、タッキー、死にたい？
You wanna die? Okay, I got scared. It stopped.
痛いのは嫌だ。死ぬのは嫌だ。消えるのは嫌だ。ナナミがどうなろうと。僕は痛くも痒くもない。
So to persuade myself, the one on the right wasn't Shogun, it was Sierra Tan.
剣に見えるだけで剣じゃない。ただの光の反射とか目の錯覚だ。
Kind of an interesting mechanic, though.
さあ、帰ろう。帰ったらさ、私のパンツ見ながらいっぱいオナニーしていいから。
帰って、セーラちゃんにハーハーするよ。
嬉しい、タッキ キーのためにエッチなポーズたくさんしてあげるね。
Oh my god. Where is this going?
誰が動いていいと許可した？クエストは
The power to nut compels you!
僕は勇者なんかじゃない。妹一人救えないようなヘタレなキモータだよ。僕に期待しない。僕を見ないで。僕をそっとしておいて。
I don't either. I really can't tell.
殺すことにするよ。どうせもう死んでる。
Shugana brutally murdered her. I know, that is the point. That's why I wasn't saying anything. That's the point of it, you know? What? What? The sound of water dripping. It wasn't a rivulet of water. Nanami's blood. Pure red blood trickling from her stump to her waist.
助けて。お兄って最低。
Oh, you didn't say me. All right. The world went crimson. Fury and grief and shame ground my thoughts to a pulp. I charged blindingly at Shogun. I grabbed at him, sitting still in the shadows. But it was less of a physical response than I expected. What? Was there no Shogun at that point? Like, he just left? Grimacing, I looked about in confusion at the person who had been sitting in the wheelchair. A head had tumbled down by my feet. I gingerly reached for it. It was very hard. Rather than a once-living head, it was clearly something akin to a helmet. A pitch-black helmet. Darth Spider. Darth Spider! Two inconspicuous brands combined into one. Oh, these steroids started to kick in and make me feel nice. Oh god. Okay, let me save first, because it's a new chapter. I'm gonna save on a new spot. Just in case. Yeah, Darth Spider, the new one. Let me get rid of this plate here. It's a good time to do that. I want to get some stuff. Alright, yeah, you do that. I'm doing that. I'm doing my thing now. So just do it. I'm going to do it. So I have retrieved something. Yeah, 5-minute break sounds good. Retrieved something unusual. Our new puppy dog. Why aren't timestamps on in chat? What the fuck? I like timestamps. There we go, 6:45. I'll just give it a couple minutes. But I brought the new dog. Who is very much somebody that likes to sleep and take naps. I don't have a webcam, so I can't share. Sorry. She do be kind of hitting here, though. She's so cute, and she's quick, a little baby girl. Ooh. Watch this turn into a reverse. No, hold on. As soon as I get the dog, everyone's wondering where the dog went. Watch this turn into a reverse isekai with Sierra and gang actually coming into this world. Who knows? Honestly, I thought that might happen like way earlier. When he first discovered the idea of bringing delusions into reality, I thought he was going to try that. In all honesty. But he never did. She's so tired. You sleep more than anything. I've never seen a dog sleep so much. Couldn't tell if you knew about it. Probably not. Again, I'm not a smart man. Let me take a look here. Urban Dictionary, my best friend. Isekai, meaning another world, usually referring to Japanese stories, and manga, light visual novels, web novels, which involve the main characters being transported to another world. Oh, yeah, alright, I got that. I know the concept, I just don't know the words, you know what I mean? I just refer to them refer to different sources of stuff, like, what if it was like this RE0 thing, you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. What if it was like Konosuba, when he dies and then goes into another world? Watch us turn to reverse isekai with this. Yeah, that's what I mean, though. Isekai, yeah, that's what I've been saying. Isekai. What are you looking at, Fiona, huh? You sniffing my beard, huh? Oh. Oh, you like sniffing the beards. What is up, Rams? You've been looking into Valorant? I haven't really seen a whole lot of it, personally, because I don't really care. If I'm being honest. From an outsider's perspective, I mean, I play, if there's any competitive shooters, there's competitive games in general, I'm like, love-hate relationship. The only ones I've really gotten into was, Siege. I gotten into Overwatch for a good period. I got into Dota at some point. I'm not really into CS. I'll play CS with friends and stuff, but that's as far as I go. This feels like old CSGO. Well, yeah, again, someone as an outsider, it seemed like a worse CSGO. But it does seem like a worse CSGO with, characters. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think I'd ever, if I got the chance to try it, I'll probably try it. But even, besides the point, I really don't trust Riot as a company, personally. I'm one of those, China people. Well, not China people, but yeah. They make a lot of really questionable decisions, and they're owned by Tencent, so it's don't really trust them too much with my info and stuff. But it's free, yeah. Alright, Melberg is back. I suppose we can just begin then, I guess. I have a dog on my lap, so let's see how this goes, but... Let's go alt tab. with one hand, and then press F, and then press the scene button. There we go. Okay. I don't know, after spending more than 2K hours in League, I'm forced to trust them. That's also a thing, too. I had never really gotten to League, so in that sense, I'm kind of glad I didn't. But I get the appeal. Though it would soon be midnight, the turnstiles of the subway's Hanzomen line were packed with people. The earthquake had led to an enormous disruption of schedules and forms of public transportation. Everyone passing through turnstiles wore looks of concealed irritation. She's just passed out. Oh my god. Dead on my lap. Anyway, watching them from the corner of his eyes, Bon Yasuji checked the monitor in the station attendant's office. There had been a report from an attendant yesterday morning. When they first heard word that the high school girl was menacing someone with the colossal blades object, the jurisdictional officers came running. By the time they arrived, however, neither the high school girl nor the man she had allegedly assaulted were anywhere to be seen. Upon hearing the case that, by happenstance today, Bond himself interested in the male's victim's description, it nagged at him that several similar incidents had occurred, which is why he'd come here on his own accord at a time like this. Are they referencing Takumi? Also, I want to know what happened to Takumi on the roof there. I kind of want to see what happened, you know, if Nami's okay and stuff. I don't know. I hope everything's okay. It would seem that the altercation had been filmed in all of its detail by the security cameras. When he requested that the station attendant let him see the tape, the response was a pleasant yes, but it came along with a warning. It's a tad creepy. Creepy is kind of weird way to put it. For the time being, he made the tape play back on the monitor. The picture was full of noise. It was probably due to the earthquake. He figured it was something to do with all the talk about how data on computers' hard disks had disappeared here and there. Well, when you're dealing with a massive vibration like that, on sensitive disks-based, you know, that's just not going to work together too well. Sorry, tired. Oh, anyway, determining who had caught up on tape would be a trial, given that it was barely at the level of where he could see what was going on. A lone man appeared in the corner of the picture. He stood still in the background near the wall along the right edge of the screen. Located short a ways from the turnstiles, it was a place one wooden set put in one way to board or change trains. And that fact, the other passengers only cut across the very front of the screen. The awful noise made it difficult to discern the man's appearance, but he was rather skinny and short. He wore a large rucksack on his back. Oh, it's that guy. Bond couldn't figure out exactly what he was doing there. After he fast-forwarded through about an hour of tape, a small change abruptly took place. Some of the commuters who had been cutting across the screen walked up to the man and halted. To Bond, it almost appeared as though they were being pulled in by the man with the rucksack. The mysterious part is how they showed no particular sign of starting a conversation with him. They stood in place and zoned out. Nor did several people who had halted appear to be equated with each other. They were different genders and ages, with no common ground between them. What in the world was going on? When Bond gazed at the monitor cocking his head, a single girl entered the screen. A long-haired high school girl in a Suime Academy uniform. She headed straight for the man with the rucksack, with the exact gait that came in mind when one thought of someone striding. Her movements were clearly different from those of the people who had stopped her. As a matter of fact, she pushed aside the loiterers and suddenly halted the man by his collar. For some time, the two of them quarreled, or rather it appeared more as if the girl was one-sidedly threatening him, acting as though this had recalled them to themselves. People had stopped there, set off on their respective ways. At last, the girl flung the man aside. Retreating one step away from the man who had fallen on his bottom, she struck an odd pose. She leaned forward, towering her center of her gravity, placed both hands together close to the side of her hip. She appeared to be carrying something, but her hands were empty. The report had stated that she was swinging around a large bladed weapon, but where could she possibly be hiding such a thing? The answer soon became evident. Without warning, the screen of the camera shook, and this wasn't a form of noise. The way the hair and clothing of the passing commuters fluttered made it clear that the camera doing the recording was actually shaking. Bond's eyes ate into the screen. Before he knew it, the girl had come to be holding a gigantic sword, one longer than she was tall, though who knew where she had drawn from. She rewound the tape and confirmed it with one more time. No matter how she looked at it, it seemed that the sword had come floating up out of empty space. At least the girl had kept her center of gravity low and stayed placed without budging an inch. The people captured in the monitor saw the sword the girl had materialized and burst into a commotion, but she took no heed of others' eyes. The rucksack-bearing man, on the other hand, was blatantly terrified. He desperately scrambled up and tried to run away. The girl wouldn't permit this. Chasing the man with finely horned movements, she swung that enormous sword with ease. Like a fierce gale, the sword sliced apart the rucksack he was wearing. The force of the impact made him topple over. However, it didn't look like she had been hurt, or he had been hurt. In reality, the officer who came running to examine the scene after receiving a report about it had found not a single remnant of blood. As if she heard his mutter, though it was a recorded tape, so she couldn't have, the girl suddenly turned toward the camera. The screen went slightly jumbled. The girl's form disappeared instantaneously, almost as if she had never been there in the first place, but the man's slashed rucksack remained behind as an undeniable mark of her presence. Though the visual noise made it hard to decipher, it was certain that she vanished from the screen in less than a full second. It's a lot harder to do this with a sleeping dog on my lap. Wow. She's out. Bond rewound the film again. There was nothing unnatural looking about the timestamp displayed at the lower right-hand side of the screen. In other words, this tape, it hadn't been edited. If so, there was one supposed to explain away that the girl and her sword. Feeling as though he'd said a ghost or something. Seen a ghost, whatever. Bond was left with his perplexity. If you thought I was having a hard time reading before, it's going to be a harder time reading now. In the midst of a perfect whiteness, I lay down. I felt soft, fluffy sensation of floating. I didn't know whether or not I was levitating. I didn't have any sense of up or down, right or left. The silence was noisy in my ears. It was like hundreds of crickets were crying out in my head all at once. I wouldn't have experienced any doubts if someone told me this was the world that came after death. For it was so. Monotonous, simple, tranquil, regulated, orderly, empty, and peaceful. Maybe this is what it was like inside the mind of a Buddha who had achieved enlightenment. It's vastly different from being in my head. This scene. It's almost like you know what scene this is. The aggravation, bitterness, and hollowness of reality, I didn't want to taste such things. Just as I thought to myself, noise started flying back into white and previously sound world. It was the sound of a door opening and someone's footsteps. They were drawing closer. What?
お兄、今日ね、はい、これ、プレゼント、手編みの帽子なんだよ。すごいでしょ？もう冬だしね。ね、帽子好きだから使ってね。もう、お兄、無視しないでよ。ご飯残してるじゃん。ちゃんと食べないとダメなんだよ。ねえ、病院のご飯って美味しくない？
Oh, this is a flashback.
食べないとダメ。起きろ。お兄、食べずに寝たら夜になってお腹空いちゃうんだから。
Someone's hand slid around my back, and they forced my body up. There, for the first time, I noticed that my eyes were closed. Yeah, not enough budget for Loli Nanami. A little girl was there when I opened my eyes. She was Nanami, my little sister. She seemed awfully small. How long ago was this? At least it must have been around when we were in elementary school. The young Nanami dripped a plastic spoon into the curry and held it out towards me. I hit the spoon holding hand. Oh my. Yeah, her eyes are larger. Well, don't eyes actually not... They don't grow, like they don't change size as you grow up. That might be just her original size. Bro, why does it always look so good? Stop it already. I covered my face with both my hands and slowly closed my eyes. Bro, enemy food really do be hitting though.
守ってあげられなくて。
What? Where are we at now? When I gradually opened my eyes, I saw a white ceiling. Dazzling white. I blinded my eyelids multiple times. Or blinked, I guess. Whatever. I tried moving my fingers. I tried raising my hand over my head. My palm created a shadow, but finally released from the brightness. I'd seen a dream. A dream about Nanami. Nanami had been the reliable sort even back then. When I stopped speaking to anyone after the bus accident during elementary school years, that tendency of Nanami grew more pronounced. Unlike my parents, who simply became more protective. Overprotective. She took care of all kinds of things for me, even while being verbally hard on me. But that dream, had I ever been hospitalized? I commuted there before for checkups, but, well, it was a dream, so there wasn't much meaning in seriously pondering the minor discrepancies. Dreams are a big deal, though. Like, what if Fiona here is running through a field right now? Anyway. There's a white pipe frame bed, white sheets, white pillow, white linoleum floor, white walls, white fluorescent lights in the ceiling, white curtains covering the window, small white shelves beside the bed, a white pitcher set atop them, white paper cups. Lots of white. I steadily grew sick of it. I raised my torso with all my might. For a second, a numb pain shot through my waist, but it soon diminished. The room was fairly spacious, at least 2 times bigger than my base. But that didn't change the fact that it was so Spartan. Perhaps it was a hospital room. A pair of green slippers had been lined up close by the bed. It was relieved to me find a color other than white. What's this bopping in the background? First I thought about my dog snoring, but bro, this dude be kinda slapping now. Fiona. I wanted my throat was dry. I wanted to drink Coke. Cold Coke with lots of carbonation. You don't hear my dog snoring? Well, she is, it's quiet, though. Huh. It was a little lukewarm. It's still more than sufficient to wet my throat. Oh. She's here. No, that's my dog. She's sleeping on my lap. I wish I mentioned it a few times, but I don't have a camera to show it. She's sleeping. Her eyes went a bit round and she saw me. Apparently she thought I would be sleeping.
西條さん、目が覚めたんですね。
She soon gave me a gentle smile. She was a model nurse. Speaking of which, I had a hunch that I'd seen her somewhere before. Oh my god. What is that stench? Oh, don't tell me she's going. No, I'd feel something. Oh my god. Something telling the patient they're awake. Oh. Wow, you're awake. I can't believe it. What had been her name again? I'm just gonna scoot you just a tad, Fiona, okay? There you go. I couldn't remember, so I took a furtive look at the name tag on his chest. It said Hazuki. Yeah, Hazuki-san.
お体の調子はどうですか?
Hazuki held a thermometer out to me. The gesture came naturally to her. Just sort of ended up taking it.
体温を測ってくださいね。
If you speak to me that kindly, I'm not going to be able to do anything but meekly obey. My head was full of question marks, but for the time being, I stuck my thermometer in my armpit. Immediately after, the memories erupted inside my head. I remembered these events. Now you're getting it back. I've given up on saving Nanami, and I've seized at the wheelchair riding Shogun. I didn't feel anything there either. And what I found myself holding there, toppled over Count Darth Spider, the archetypal villain who appeared in the movie Spark Wars. His black swathed silhouette was famous even in Japan. I'm sorry. But I had such a hard time thinking of Shogun as being a Darth Spider cosplayer that it sent my wrath flying away, leaving me totally at sea. I got up and looked at the wheelchair. No one was sitting in it. A black hood was draped across the backrest. It too was part of the Darth Spider costume. I wanted to survey the area, but no one was there. I was the only person who had been up on the pitch black roof. they're suddenly there.
結局ニュージェネの犯人は誰なのかわからないということで、
そのダーススパイダーのヘルメットは何か超能力と関係あるのかな。西条さん、答えてくれませんか。これで終わりなんて言うなら電波ジャックですよ。
結局何がしたかったんです？ニュージェネに便乗した売人行為ですか？
ユーリ・ブライトマンさんとは最近話したかな。どんなこと話した？
Who is Yuri Brightman? I still don't know.
ニュージェネについて何か関係あると思いますか。
その手に持っている美少女フィギュアは何らかの儀式。
This reminds me of the Eric Andre bit, where they go out as a crowd of press, saying rhetorical questions. Like, is it true? It was that's one of my favorites. Yeah, Light's anime were incredibly hot. Felt much like getting my skin burned by midsummer sun. The media people flooding me made stuff my head went blank. My feeble sight swirled around and around. Being driven into a corner, panicking, turned to breathe. I cradled my head. I couldn't see anything I didn't want to see. I couldn't hear anything. Okay. At the same time I shouted, my consciousness cut off as though it had been short-circuited. Yeah, you're snoring pretty loud. I'm surprised. I didn't think the mic could pick it up that well. Yes, I'd lost consciousness, and then afterward, how did I end up in this hospital? I couldn't remember. At least, I didn't think I'd come on my own 2 feet. Maybe I'd been carried over by an ambulance. Hazuki-san had been writing something down on the clipboard she carried and must have been holding paper or something. She was writing about my condition? I'm gonna move my mic so I can see the screen a little better. There we go. I confirmed the time by peering at the plain-looking watch on her wrist. After 6 a.m., I must have slept for quite a while. Even though... Alright, we're saving. We gotta do positive. Hazuki-san had been meant this hospital usually meant to. There certainly wasn't anything strange about them burying me at General Hospital. Something about it didn't quite fit together. The question of why has Hazuki-san come to check on me nagged me. After all, Hazuki-san was a psychiatric nurse. If she'd come to look in on me, didn't it mean the room was part of the psychiatric ward as well? It's too late.
それにしても驚いた。
Eyes wide, Hazuki-san studied my face
まさか
intently.
西条さんが目覚めるなんて。
Yeah. Her way of putting it made it sound like it was strange for me to have woken up. She was being sarcastic. Or was she being sarcastic? Did she want to say that someone as shameful as me would cause less trouble for everyone around me for staying asleep for the rest of my life? Having even a nurse imply such things made me seriously want to die. Yet the facts of which Hazuki-san spoke were unexpected and utterly different from what I was imagining.
あなたはこの1ヶ月近く原因不明のまま眠り続けてい
Almost
た
a month? What had she just said? How long was a month ago?
今日って。
落ち着いて聞いてくださいね。今日は10月28日です。
Wow. Match the date in my memory. 1 month early would have meant even ever since the time I witnessed the staking. I went speechless.
そうだ。先生に伝えないといけませんよね。ここで待っていてくださいね。すぐに先生を呼んできますから。
After rattling this off without any room for an answer, Hazuki-san dashed hastily out of the bedroom door.
僕が1ヶ月昏睡状態だった。
I muttered dazedly, looking down at the palm of my hand. In other words, everything from the past month had been a dream. I couldn't possibly have anticipated that it was a dream. Wait. Was it? So, from the staking to now, she's saying it's a dream. But mysteriously, there was nothing unpleasant about it. I had surprisingly easy time accepting it when I heard it had been a dream. When I thought about it harder, things like dye swords and making delusions real were simply impossible. Everything had been an illusion, purely delusions on my own creation. It's too bad that meeting Remy had been a dream. But Shogun wasn't targeting me, and I hadn't been the laughingstock of all Japan. Nanami hadn't been abducted. Thank goodness. I feel sight blurred when I look up to keep from crying. Hazuki-san entered. Hazuki-san. Her eyes went a bit round when she saw me. Yeah, I lost all the chicks.
西条さん、目が覚めたんですね。
She soon gave me a gentle smile. Puzzled, I found myself
お
unable to
体
move.
の調子はどうですか？
Hazuki-san let out a thermometer out to me. The gesture came naturally. Wait,
体温を測ってくださいね。
didn't we just do this? Yeah. We just did this. Acting like she entered the room for the first time, I tentatively felt at my armpit. I'd stuck a thermometer in there just a second ago, despite that gone. My being targeted by Shogun and becoming the laughingstock of all Japan. Were those parts real? My mood dropped towards depression in the blink of an eye.
昨日ご家族がお見えになっていたんですけ
Man,
ど、
you're snoring.
西条さんの意識が戻らないので、日付が変わる頃にお帰りになりました。今日は診察時間が始まる頃にお母様が来るそうですよ。
Lacking the energy to answer, I nodded at her. Mom, I must have been the most disgraceful son of Japan. No, the whole world. I've been broadcast on live TV, all things. My moment of shame had aired throughout the nation of Japan. It had definitely been uploaded to YouTube as well. I had no clue it had been set up as a miracle Esper boy. Esper boy, whatever. I don't know how you say that. On top of that, it was abnormal for them to do a live broadcast of every little move on the day of such an enormous earthquake. I could only assume that everyone really did have their minds controlled by Shogun. In any case, it had been publicly disgraced. This wasn't something mild enough to stop at an online lynching. God, I can't talk. Would I be able to live uneventfully from now on? Suddenly, Nanami's face rose to the back of my mind. I bit my lip and clenched my knees. Even so, it had been able to help Nanami. None of it would have been a problem. I wouldn't have minded even if everyone in the world laughed mockingly at me, saying what a pathetic guy for the rest of my life. But I hadn't even been able to save Nanami.
どうしました？どこか痛みます？
Okay. Nanami was dead. I would never bring her back. It was my fault. Okay. Because I was useless, Nanami had died. Coaxed with Sierra Tan's rather my weak-hearted words and... Sierra Tan's rather... whatever. My weak-hearted words, I've been in a rush to give up on obtaining my dye sword. I'd viewed myself as a poor little victim. I'd chosen to stay alive even at the cost of sacrificing Nanami. I loathed my no-good self from the bottom of my heart. If back then, if I had tried only a little harder, even though it had been my own decision to give up, I looked back when everything was already done with and regretted my actions. That was the absolute worst thing about me. Thoughts wouldn't save anyone. Even so, I couldn't help thinking along those lines. I tried a little harder if only I could rewind time and go back. Dude, you are snoring! Wow! Why are you so loud? What if I do this? Hey. What if I do this for you, okay? I'm gonna sit back. So you get a little more breathing room, maybe, possibly. Yeah, she's snoring a lot, man. She's really going at it. I'll put my arm here again, alright? Just try that out. Wait, she's really snoring. I'm always like that. It truly was beyond helping. Nanami, I'm sorry. Hazuki rubbed my back as though to soothe me. I was hopeless, through and through. I was even giving an unrelated nurse a hard time. I can't open that right now. but my tears wouldn't do me the favor of stopping.
後悔していることがあるんですね。でもきっと妹さんも許してくれますよ。
How did she know Nanami was my little sister? Besides, I didn't need such time-worn words of comfort. Sorry, Hazuki-san, but it's not like another person is going to understand what I feel like. I truly detested and felt ashamed of myself, always being spoiled by others and only thinking of myself. A person like that ought to die. Maybe I should seriously give death a
昨日
try.
もしきりに西条さんのことを心配していましたよ。とても可愛らしい妹さんですね。
Where's this going?
ナナミは妹は死にました。
In the end, she'd probably died alone. My heart seemed about to tear asunder when I imagined it.
そうなんですか？ごめんなさい。勘違いしてしまって。
Until now, I'd always thought Nanami was obnoxious. When you get down to it, we were siblings who had been raised together for 16 years. She's always fretted over me whenever we were calling me an idiot or stupid. She'd been loud and persistent enough when she was constantly attempting to bring me out of my life of dissipation. When she brought provisions from home, instead of just chunking them at me, she invariably tried to eat together with me. Usually a girl of her age would totally ignore a creepy otaku Alright. Nanami spoke ill of me, but she spoke to me all the same. She listened to what I had to say as well. Even at school, far from avoiding me, she'd come up on her own accord. Even with an otaku freak, okay. Saw me always as her big brother, as an individual human being. Her existence had been a huge source of support for me, though it was too late to realize now.
だとしたら、鬼ってどういう意味なのかしら。
Eh? Not quite comprehending what she said, I'd raise my head. The blurriness of tears made it hard to see Hazuki-san's expression. What had she said just now?
西条さんを鬼と何度も呼んでいたから、その印象が強くて。
A person who calls me that. There's only one.
それ、本当ですか？
I instinctively sprang out of my bed and pressed on Hazuki-san.
はい。
ナナミが、妹がナナミがここに。
いえ、はっきりお名前を聞いた。
Oh, I didn't mean to skip. Whatever.
ナナミは
ですから、昨日はお帰りに西条さんの
怪我とかしてませんでした。
はい。いえ、特には。
元気だったんですね。ナナミは元気だったんですね。
はい。いえ、ナナミさんかどうかはわかりませんけど、昨日いらしていた女の子は。
As far as I could tell from Hazuki-san's words, there was no mistaking it. Okay. Even though Shogun said he wouldn't give Nanami back unless I cleared the quest, surely he hadn't sympathized with us and released her. Or had Nanami escaped under her own power? Then how was I supposed to explain the hand that got sent to me? According to Hazuki-san, Nanami hadn't been injured at all.
もしかしたら君の家に送ったあの手首は別人のものかもしれないよ。
These words hadn't been a lie. I'd been dancing in the palm of Shogun's hand. He'd only been deceiving me. No, at this point I didn't care a bit about getting deceived.
そっか。
Okay, I still don't know where this is going. Like, so what we did do, that wasn't a dream? Why did it repeat? I'm so confused. Despite the fact that I was crying, laughter bubbled inside of me.
西条さん？
将軍にまとったなんという壮大な釣りだよ。
Nanami was alive. I could see that goddamn Putin face of hers again. I could hear her yappy, annoying face. The thought of it filled my heart with relief and joy surged through me. My tears wouldn't stop, but these weren't the tears of frustration I wept previously. I was a useless guy beyond all salvation. Yesterday, too, I'd given up on trying to do something about it with my own strength. But even so, as long as the Nanami were alive, I wouldn't seek anything else. Like I'd care if the rest of the world mocked me with its laughter. I was truly glad. What? Okay, so it's still going on. It wasn't a dream. Or is it still good? But Nanami's alive. I think. I'm not sure. I'm lost. I'm kind of sort of lost.
ちょっといい
Where's this
ですかね。
なんだね。
Not only did Matsunaga, but the other detectives and also Suwa, who had been sitting beside Bond, listened to him with dubious expressions. Wearing his usual frivolous and friendly smile, Bond gave a quick bow to his head and looked around.
先日インターネット上に投稿されたいわゆる集団ダイブの映像についてなんですが、実は
Suwa wore a face of blatant surprise. It was expected because Bond had investigated the film without saying a single word about Suwa, who he had supposed to make paired up with. Then again, the reason for it wasn't that he'd wanted to keep it a secret from Suwa either.
君は確か貼り付けの捜査担当だったはずだが、なぜ集団ダイブについて調べている？
Well, that was pretty much what it came down to. Bond had taken independent action, ignoring instructions from headquarters. And if he got Suwa involved in it, a young detective with a bright future ahead of him would get tied down by his superiors. He'd avoid that.
まあとりあえず見てくださいって。
Laughing foolishly, Bond looked two elongated photos from a file close at hand. He stuck them in the blackboard with magnets.
これはどっちも集団ダイブの現場となったコーネリアスタワー屋上。右の写真は例のミュウツベ投稿映像から抜き出したもの。左のは昨日の夜私がタワー屋上に行って撮ってきたものになり、何か違いに気づきませんか？
There's no tower. Computer full of insinuations, Bond slowly surveyed the large conference room before finally looking straight at Matsunaga.
君は弁護士にでもなったつもりがね。要点は分かりやすく説明したまえ。
This dog farts, man. Oh my god. Dude, you stink. You stink. You're stinking on my fucking room. It's not hard. You can see there's no tower. Nor did the other detectives make any...
背
Okay.
景がね、投稿映像のカメラは北東へ向かってる。5人が転落したのが北東だったから間違いない。で、映像では3分29秒から、いや、その時に東に向いた時の映像がこの右側の写真なわけです。コーネリアスタワーの東、つまり六本木方面ですね。東京タワーが夜景の中にしっかり映ってる。赤いから目立ちますね。でもね、もう一つよく目立つものが。
よく目立つもの？
Eyes narrowed, stroking the scraps of beard in his jaw with his hand. Bond put a self-depreciating
六
smile.
本木ビルズですよ。
あ、
The conference room burst into a commotion. Indeed, one couldn't see the light of the Roppongi building in the photo taken from the uploaded video. The photo had snapped yesterday, on the other hand, and clearly captured both Tokyo Tower and the lighted windows of Roppongi Bills.
たまたま見つけたんですが、コーネリアスタワーのホテルロビーにタワー完成当時のパネルが展示してありましてね。そのパネルの一つがこれ。
One took a new photo of the file and stuck on two photos next to each other. It was a picture of the Roppongi view from the roof of the tower, but it was a daytime photograph and not a night one.
六本木ビルズが映ってますよね。建設中ですが。
The rumble of the conference room swelled. Matsunaga fell silent and regarded this photo
コーネリア
sternly.
スタワーの完成は2001年。タワー完成当時の写真では当然ながら六本木ビルズは建設中で、だが集団ダイブが起きたのは映ってなきゃおかしいですよね。ちなみに投稿映像に細工された形跡はなかった。
つまり何が言いたいんだ？
As though losing his patience, Matsunaga urged him on a grumpy-sounding voice. It's incredibly hard to say, but... Okay.
以上。
まさか先輩、この映像が撮られたのは2003年以前、つまり5年以上前って言いたいんですか？
Oh god, time travel again. Suwa had said exactly what he meant to imply, but he admired his young detective's mental sharpness and discernment. When stated straight up like that, it couldn't help but seem much more sketchy. Bond's prudence about whether or not to say it had returned to the earth. Ashes to ashes, dust to
バカ
dust.
バカしい。小説の読みすぎではないがね、映像に映っている被害者5人の顔は一致しているんだ。そんなつまらないことを調べている暇があったら、聞き込みの一つでもしたらどうだ、警部補。今のは聞かなかったことにする。それと、後で話があるから帰。
It's pretty damning evidence, though. Yeah, something's up, you know. It's I wouldn't knock it until you try it, you know. Getting cozy. Lethargically waving his fan at him, he inwardly muttered sour grapes. That said, Bond himself hadn't determined the answer to why the video didn't show Roppongi Vills. After I found out that Nanami was alive, a doctor came to me and asked me a number of simple questions. They were questions to determine whether or not my conditions was back to normal. As I answered half-heartedly, I made the decision to leave the hospital before my mom arrived. How could I possibly face my family after no budget for the sprites? If Nanami came, I positive I'd be overjoyed and start bawling. And without any idea of how I felt, Nanami would yell at me straight-faced and say, "Don't make me worry so much, you moron." When I envisioned that scene, I almost fainted from embarrassment. As a result, I decided to beat a strategic retreat or fell into such a situation. Why don't you, like... I don't know, man. Like, sleeping in the weirdest spots all the time, whatever. After nibbling a little bit on the horrible breakfast they gave me, I furtively left the hospital room. I ascended the first floor and crossed the lobby. Since the lobby hadn't opened yet, the lobby, which was normally bulging at the seams of the old people, is now quiet and still. I managed to breeze through the front entrance. Fortunately, the automatic doors opened properly for me. The nurses and physicians might get angry at me for slipping out the hospital on my own, but all I had to do was avoid going back there until things cooled down. There shouldn't be any issues with the hospitalization fee, since I'd left a note for my mom with "please pay them later." That would solve the issue, yeah. Though I'd spent the night there at the hospital, I felt physically fine, and psychologically, knowing that Nanami was okay had made my gloom lessen considerably. Proceeding with great care in case of Shogun and Yua were lying in wait for me along the way, I hastened back to my base. I'd come back. My emotional state was utterly different from when I'd left here last night. Of course, now I felt refreshed. In fact, I wanted to say a word or two of yesterday's self. You take the bait too easily, Manine. Nanami's gonna be okay, even without you freaking out like that, lol, heh. That kind of thing. But yesterday had been really tough. Anything and everything had been tough. In the morning, there was that weird phone call. Earthquake took place. Hard disk data got cleared. I've been forced to witness Ayase's failed suicide attempt. Shogun had emailed me. He sent me a severed hand. A severed hand. Yeah, where's that hand? That's what I was wondering. I swallowed jerkily and cast my line of sight at the fridge. It's still there, wasn't it? Yesterday, before leaving here, after considering what to do about it with discombobulated mind, I stuck a hand in the fridge for the time being. I mean, it's a good way for it to not rot and make the place stink, you know? Yeah. Sci-fi anime movies often use the premise that people can remain in a state of apparent death for hundreds of years, as long as you keep them frozen in storage. In other words, I landed on the same sort of idea. Yesterday, I'd honestly thought that once Nanami was safe, if her hand was preserved with a little of its own former freshness. Maybe... It's not her hand, though. If it weren't Nanami's hand, whose hand could it be? And how was I supposed to account for the cell phone and the bangle? Unless my eyes were mistaken, those definitely belonged to Nanami. When I called her, it connected to me a cell phone in her hand's grip. Or else everything, those parts included, was part of the trap Shogun laid out for me. Was it really possible for someone to perfectly replicate Nanami's arm? Although I seriously didn't want to. A human hand? Disgusting. Recalling it nearly made me throw up, even if it were Nanami's. But simply because of that, I couldn't let it stay in my fridge for who knows how long. At this rate, I wouldn't be able to chill my coat either. For a second, I thought of giving it to the police, but a second thought they suspected me of being a New-Gen perpetrator. Under those circumstances, it'd be suicidal to call me 110, to call 110 and tell them, please take a severed hand from me. What should I do? Maybe I ought to throw it away. But it felt like it'd be bad to chuck it if it were Nanami's arm, hypothetically speaking. For starters, it was okay to throw a human hand in the garbage. If you're going to, did it belong with burnable garbage? Unburnable garbage? I scratched my head. Nothing would come when pondering it. For now, I should take a more careful look at the bracelet and hand I was wearing and the cell phone it held, to see whether they were Nanami's or not. I stood in front of the fridge and gripped its handle. I closed my eyes and took 2 or 3 deep breaths. I was tempted to call Remy and have her examine it in my place, but I was soon chased away with that temptation. He's standing on his own 2 legs. Would you look at that? Yeah, is it... My only option was to do something about it myself. My mind was made up. I pulled the handle. It's not there. I didn't spot it anywhere. The hand, it definitely was put in here yesterday. A hand wrapped in aluminum foil. I left it on the top level. Yet not even a shadow of it remained. In the fridge were several plastic bottles of Coke and some rotting out clementines. That was all. It had unexpectedly vanished. I crouched and peeked all the way to the back of the fridge, but it still wasn't there. Anyway, I couldn't have overlooked it given that there wasn't much in here and it was mostly empty. Or had it just made itself think that, and in reality I'd left it sitting out. I closed the fridge and looked around the trash-strewn room. The large cardboard box that the hand had been put in. What I had done with it yesterday, I had a sense that I had tossed it in a corner of the room, but at any rate my memories of last night weren't very clear. Because yesterday had been more eventful than my brain capacity could handle. Not to mention that the event had made a huge impact on me. It had been more out of sorts from start to finish. Cool your head and try to get organized. Let's think about why the hand that had been here yesterday is gone. God, you stink. I'm sorry, this dog. He do be farting. I started up my word processing software and began writing up a list of various possibilities that occurred to me. It really is. My base had been locked ever since yesterday, so anyone could have entered without much difficulty. In fact, it was precisely why Shogun had been able to leave my hand in my room. Or was it too? Oh, yeah, he typed a list. I should probably read it. What reasons can I think of the disappearance of the hand in my fridge? I was mistaken. I left it somewhere else in my room. Yesterday I took it out myself and threw it away somewhere. Shogun took it back. Police searched my room and was confiscated. The mass media broke in and stole it. The hand didn't even exist in the first place. Number 6. Oh, don't hit control. That's a no-no. My feeling of I have to save Nami and the fear of Shogun that came when I saw the hand. In any case, a range of emotions sprouted in me, filling me to the brim. I haven't been cold-headed at all since. Maybe I had unconsciously taken the hand with me when I left and thrown it away in the trash somewhere. Alternatively, if everything about my hand had been an illusion, and in truth it had never existed to begin with. When I opened my email, yesterday's email from Shogun was still there. All the stuff about his present to me and whatnot was still there, plain as day. You are slobbering so hard. Why are you slobbering so hard? Okay. Dude, she's fucking out. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking about dog. Please. Besides, Shogun himself had referred to the hand yesterday. I had a real hard time thinking of it being an illusion of mine. But it was the possibility that the police or the media had taken it, and they took an otaku creep like me with... Every time he mentions the otaku creep like me sentence, I want to scream. I was scared to go online after yesterday's events. Even so, I couldn't keep from wanting to see for myself, and I opened the browser. I began by looking at the main news page of Taboo, plus the news sites I usually frequent. As expected, there was a bunch of articles lined up about yesterday's bedlam and the pedestrian scramble. Feral boy! An ESP show by a young new generation boy reached its curtain call in the worst manner possible. Hearing that a magnitude 5 earthquake had taken place in Shibuya around noon on 27th, MHK, BTS, and TVU High broadcast special reports, while TV Today and Mount Fuji TV decided to simultaneously provide a live broadcast of a show, starting about 9. However, protest calls soon began pouring in, let down by how he had dodged his promises. Approximately 5,000 fans booed for over an hour in Shibuya Station Plaza, and fights also broke out between them, resulting in 13 arrests. I'm gonna go play Valorant for y'all. I'll catch up on the VOD. I sure will. At this rate, I don't know how much longer I can keep up, though, if I go to dog mode. Anyway. I might go, like... I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not feeling like a super long stream today. That's the thing. I don't know. You're dropping a lot of bombshells in this section. I've never seen Yuri Brightman's TV show. Naturally, I knew not a thing about him. What could it all mean? Everything had been arranged by Shogun, after all. He talked about a quest or something, but what was to be gained by pushing me to get a dye sword to the point of making the media feature me in a live broadcast? I didn't understand what Shogun wanted to do. He'd even let Nanami go with her life. Okay. I followed the links to read all kinds of articles, but not one of them touched on Shogun. There had been almost no gap between when I barreled at Shogun and the mass media came rushing in. Even if Shogun had used the time to flee, he would without a doubt have been spotted by the media. It was still more inconceivable for someone with a wheelchair, that is, Shogun, who shouldn't have been able to use his legs freely. Uh-oh. Yeah, I just noticed OBS lost connection or something. I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know. Hey, my connection's been on and off. Oh, it's going around again. Oh. Let's see how it goes. If that happens again, though, or I don't know. I don't know. If I ever disconnect again, I'll just probably mention, like, I'm still connected to the internet if the stream stops, probably, but anyway. I don't know, I might. Let's see how it goes. They're all saying whatever the hell they wanted. Autonomy without a... It's not funny when it's against you, right? Shogun was to blame for this as well. That aside, I thought Underground News that they couldn't show on the television they posted in the ad channel. It didn't spawn anything of the sort. Nothing was going around how they have been one more person on the roof of O-Front besides me. Almost as though the person called Shogun hadn't been there from the start. Maybe the Shogun who'd appeared that there had been no more than a phantom of the real Shogun. Even if his existence were certain, it was almost possible that the Shogun who'd been at O-Front was a delusion I'd create.
僕はやっぱり病気なのかも。
Oh no, bro. Only things that should have been impossible, realistically speaking, kept happening to me. It was like a game. The world where Nanami had died and the world where she was alive. What are you looking at? Like the two of them stood side by side, I had the option to pick either one. Similar to the decision points in an eroge, the future branded infinitely. The difference between me and ordinary people was that I had delusions of the choice that leads to an unhappy outcome, and could simulate the events to come. Such as events when Nanami died, or when Ayase jumped to death, or when I fell from the roof of O-Front and died. In short, the unhappiness that visited me over and over and over as though someone had planned it out might be in fact had been a mental trap I laid out for myself. In the midst of a boring and unchanging everyday life, I'd wished to emigrate to a world of as stimulating as a game, and I unconsciously showed it to myself in the form of illusions. I didn't possess any such desire. At least I'd say an instant no thanks to any simulation that would scare and sadden me. God, I can't.
どれだけ想像力豊かなんだよ。
Even all of the things that I was thinking now were ultimately no more than idiotic childish delusions. I sighed and leaned against my chair's backrest, looking distractingly up at the ceiling. Reality was indeterminate. Everything began to appear like a lie. The world called I was so hollow. Where's this one? I wish I knew what that said.
今日午後8時頃、渋谷区の渋谷川で女性の変死体が発見されました。
We got the new victim.
江戸川区に住む十勝あやみさん27歳で、死因は喉を詰まらせた。警察の調べによりますと、被害者の右手の肉が削り取られて骨が露出しており、被害者は自らの右手を噛みちぎって食べたとみられ、また足首が
Bitten and devoured her own hand.
警察では自殺・他殺の両面から捜査を進めています。
Tasty hand. Alright. I'll tell you what. I feel like if there's any time to stop early, it would probably be now. I'm gonna save real quick. Oh, I know, I gotta move my arm. Plus, we got through a lot of plot beats. Like, the pace is really picking up. So, I mean, it really do be moving. I don't really have any chat bots or anything, so that's probably why. But I've been streaming so far for 3 hours, 37 minutes, and 14 seconds. Can always tell you that. So, I mean, it was shorter. I've been only up for a few hours. Usually, most of these streams have been like 5 hours or so. Not sure. Whatever. If I need a bot of some sort, I might look into that, but I've never really felt the need for it. I don't even think uptime. Yeah, uptime's probably not a built-in thing. Anyway, whatever. We got through a lot of progress in this game, though. A lot of story beats. Again, a lot of it was revealed and shit. I should expect to stream tomorrow. I was expecting to finish the game tomorrow, but I don't know. Obviously, because it's not like Danganronpa where it's easy to schedule around. You know, there are many chapters are and stuff. That, and then also the case of I'm just going by the based on how many hours I stream and shit. And today I'm not streaming as much, so obviously I'm not going to stream or finish tomorrow probably. But anyway, good progress. I'm getting there. I'm moving. I'm grooving. I'm really enjoying the game though. Like, especially now, it's really picking up. Having so many different confusing bits where it's like back and forth and throwing all these different concepts at you really early on, it really didn't help, but whatever. I'm gonna go for now. I do have some stuff, some chores to do anyway, so I will go accomplish those things. But yeah, I expect to stream tomorrow, probably, possibly, most likely. You can really hear her. She's really loud now. Plus, it's not easy streaming with the dog. Anyway. Yep, have a good night, Malberg. Since you're in Sweden, the time is obviously way past mine, so I'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for watching.